Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Did Donald Trump just start this war? Why is this happening? Cui bono, right? Who benefits? It's always useful to start that question in any country.
Cui bono.
Who benefits? Who wants Iran bombed off the map? And for their own reasons?
Who is it?
Who are Iran's rivals and enemies?
Oh, wow. Who are they? Tell us. Go ahead.
Perennially, it's the Gulf Arab states, countries like Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and Qatar.
And?
You know, Qatar.
Qatar?
The country that just gave Donald Trump a really, really nice $400 million plane, really a gilded flying palace for his own use, both during the presidency,
I knew that plane
during
was
his
bad
presidency,
news.
and after. Trump plans to take that plane with him and keep using it after he leaves office.
Started World War III over a plane. God, I knew that plane.
And you remember United Arab Emirates.
I didn't think of it. You know, that's why she's a Rhodes Scholar. She puts this all together.
Structuring
the plane.
It's
totally
amazing the way she connects
financial transaction so that $2 billion of it would be stuffed into the Trump family's otherwise worthless
This
brand
is
new
better
crypto
than
financial
Russiagate right
firm.
here.
And of course, you remember the Saudis,
Them
who
too?
stuffed another $2 billion into the pockets of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
Right, but who
As
Miriam
Trump's first
Adelson.
term in office came to a close.
No?
You might remember enough people were
But who
alarmed
else?
about that when it happened that the Trump folks
I know a
actually
thing or
sort of
two
bothered
about
to come up with an
dildos,
excuse
and
for what made
Miriam
that
has
okay.
one
They said,
that
don't
I
worry,
would be
Jared will
afraid
never
of,
again
personally.
work for the U.S. government. He's never coming back to Washington. So it's okay that he's taken all this money from the Saudis now. We will never have to worry about having somebody involved in U.S. policy who has
who
also
else?
just been given billions of dollars by Saudi Arabia.
Qatar, the Saudis.
apparently
Okay, who
for
else?
No reason.
Anyone else?
Well, that was the explanation when he took all that money from the Saudis at the end of Trump's first term. And now today, who has been leading the negotiations on behalf of the United States government with Iran before we just started this war with them today? I mean, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was in St. Kitts this week. It wasn't him. No, it was Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law. Recently paid billions of dollars by Iran's chief rival, and nevertheless sitting there alongside Trump's tiny real estate friend, Steve Witkoff, who has sought recently to improve his considerable family fortunes by going to Qatar to seek money from its sovereign wealth fund.
Wow. She's good. I mean,
rabid Zionist Jared Kushner, who made his uber shiksa wife convert. Donald Trump's daughter felt strongly enough to make her convert to Judaism. No, we're not going to mention that part. Not going to talk about that.
Yeah, you know, she's good. I mean, here we are thinking Israel is Iran's chief rival in the Middle East, and you know, she sees through it. You know, she sees through all that stuff. Now, look, she does. To be fair, she mentioned this. I guess Blakely filmed this off of her TV. She tweeted this out. So she does mention Israel very quickly, but then she pivots right back to the Arab states.
Tension on Israel, and indeed Israel and the United States
Right.
worked together in the bombing campaign, not only the one that started today, but the campaign against Iran in June.
Right?
But it is the Gulf Arab states
Oh.
who are arrayed against Iran, who want Iran removed has been regional rival.
So this the Gulf Arab states
that have been
who want Iran.
assiduously
Okay.
buying up members of the Trump family and the Trump administration with just astonishing amounts of cash in recent years, and particularly in recent months.
You know, it's funny. I didn't know they allowed lesbians on Epstein Island. I guess so. I guess so. They're very liberal. They're very woke there, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had a lot of people from the WEF on Epstein Island, so they were. A lot of people say that Epstein Island was their first attempt at a 15-minute city.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's walkable. Exactly. Lots of benches, lots of green space.
You can go molest the girls here, and then you can go and get a nice schwitz right over there.
Yeah, exactly. You never have to leave. You never have to leave. It's a new world. It's a new world. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing, isn't it? All that. Yeah, Israel they helped us bomb Iran. They're the ones who bombed the school that killed all the little girls. But, this is really not their war. This is really the Arab states. It's that plane. So she would have you believe Donald Trump started World War III for a $400 million airplane because he got a plane.
He already got their money.
Yeah. I wonder how.
Why we start a war now for it? He already has the plane.
He already has the plane.
Start a war over it.
Exactly.
I'm very proud.
Part of the deal, Rachel. Once you have the plane, you don't have to start the war. If they said, "Hey, we'll give you, we'll give you, free flights on the plane for a year, and then if you start a war, then we'll give it to you." Okay, but I already have the plane. You have obviously never read my book. I don't need to start a war over a plane. I already have the plane.
Yeah, clearly you've never talked to any of the contractors who did work for me. Once you've done the work, I'm not paying you.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
I quid pro quo. You better get the quo before you give me the quid.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That is something else, is it not? Wow. I wonder how far and fast that theory is going to spread.
I am very proud to have screamed at this woman. She is in a media landscape of the fucking scum of the earth. They'd have to invent a 10th circle of hell for a lot of these people. Rachel Maddow belongs on the 11th. She is just, because of that, because of the way that she is the personification of liberal class illusions of superiority and intellectualism. She really sells it. And this is what libs are addicted to. We're the smart people getting the smart take.
Exactly.
She is expert at and then Qatar, right? It's her whole smarmy demeanor makes them feel good about themselves. Right. That is the secret to her success with that audience.
Yeah, and this is just deliberate misdirection of people who consider themselves. Yeah, and for people who consider themselves very curious and very enlightened and very intellectual. Yeah. She's deliberately feeding them the exact wrong take.
Yes.
And of course they're going to be very confident in that take because the whole reason they watch her is to feel smart. Right? So it's very cynical and very manipulative, and in this case, very destructive because all the homies know this war is for Israel, right? Everybody knows that. And so, it's pretty awful stuff from Rachel Maddow, but not unexpected. Hey, hello, dissidents, and welcome one and all to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dabular, of course.
Hello.
We got 2,120 in the YouTube chat right to start things off. This is what they call the war economy. The war economy for us here. Big ratings. All right, we got 412 in the like column. Let's juice that like column.
It's a little insulting she didn't mention us in that roundup because we were pushing for this. Our clips have been kind of weak since the turn of the year.
Yeah.
We were saying, when is he going to launch that war? And boom, look at that, man. Ratings heaven. Ratings heaven.
Yeah.
We're back on top.
Podcasters. These very sus podcasters have been.
And by on top, we mean 999th rated political podcast.
Yeah, back in the top 1,000. That's right.
Yes, back in the top 1,000.
We're back, baby. We're back. Well, Jake is in the booth tonight. Round of applause for Jake in the chat. Thanks, Jake, for being here very much. Lots more to get to tonight, so let's keep this train right on rolling. Hey, big news in World War III here. Donald Trump, very proud to announce yesterday afternoon that the Ayatollah Khomeini, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. This is not only justice for the people of Iran, but for all great Americans and those people from many countries throughout the world that have been killed or mutilated by Khomeini and his gang of bloodthirsty thugs. He was unable to avoid our intelligence and highly sophisticated tracking systems, and working closely with Israel, there was not a thing
This
he
is
or
a
the
man
other
who,
leaders-
when Iranians would get cancer, he would deny their insurance claim. Oh, no, wait, that's us.
That's us. That's us. That's right. There was not a thing he or the other leaders have been killed along with him could do. This is the single greatest chance for the Iranian people to take back their country. We are hearing that many of their IRGC military and other security and police forces no longer want to fight and are looking for immunity from us. Yes, we hear that. We hear that. As I said last night, now they can have immunity. Later, they only get death. Hopefully, the IRGC and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots, blah, blah, blah. We're going to hear the rest of that later, so we'll read the whole thing now, but you get it. Khomeini has been killed. Here is another man who was murdered some time ago, who had a very prescient warning about taking out the Ayatollah and attempting regime change in Iran. Here's Charlie Kirk last year.
Out the Ayatollah. Oh, really? What comes next? What comes after regime change? Might be, oh, well, we need a small number of U.S. troops to support the new regime. We have seen this play before. Regime change, you have no idea how this is going to work out. You have no idea.
Well, the New York Times has some idea. If you read the New York Times, just like if you watch Rachel Maddow, you probably have an idea about how this is going. That is not exactly the whole picture, to put it mildly. Iranians take to the streets to celebrate Khomeini's death. Some Iranians said on social media that they were privately mourning the supreme leader, but displays of exuberance broke out in cities across the country. Yeah, this looks like private mourning of the supreme leader. Yeah, this looks like they're doing this on social media in private. So here is an Iranian rally to mourn the death of Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, I don't know exactly what they're saying in Arabic, so in case this is anything that runs up against the YouTube guidelines, we must add context and say this is for armed forces, revenge. I've seen different things, but we are, showing this for purposes of news, documentary, and commentary to document a historically significant event. So, don't come at us. Yeah, just a few people, posting on social media. That's all that is. That's all that is there. It's not like there's a lot of people who are very upset that their head of state had just been taken out in an illegal act of war. Armed forces, revenge. And that's a relatively close-up shot. There it is. There's the aerial view. These are all the people who are privately mourning. But, the vast majority of Iranians are glad he's dead. It's just these few, some people like this are, expressing their outrage about this. Trump's Saturday surprise attack, says Alan Watson, on Iran united the Iranian people as never before, doomed his legacy as a statesman, and rendered him the lame duck of lame ducks. Fox News won't show you this. Well, neither will the New York Times, apparently. They would have you believe that the people mourning his death are doing so in private and posting to social media. And therein lies the rub. As Charlie Kirk said, you never know which way regime change is going to go. And if past this prologue, it almost always goes badly in ways that you don't expect. And as we're going to see here throughout this segment, once again, our leaders have no idea how this is going to go. They have no plan, and this is the purpose of forever war. All right, it is about chaos. So here's Lindsey Graham not able to end. This guy's been wanting this war probably since he hit puberty. And yet he does not know. He cannot give you a vision of how he thinks it's going to go.
All I've ever wanted is this war and that boy whose fingers were always sticky from buttered crumpets after lunch.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I can only have one of them.
I can only have one.
Moving forward, in a social media post Sunday, President Trump wrote this, quote, hopefully the IRGC and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots and work together as a unit to bring back the country to the greatness it deserves.
So that was the end of the tweet that we read earlier announcing the death of Khomeini.
Is hope the plan for the future of Iran?
No, the future of Iran is going to be determined by the Iranian people. The new Iran, whatever it is, whether it's a cleric or a representative democracy, our goal is to make sure it cannot become, again, the largest state sponsor of terrorism. That's a win for us.
But is there a plan to make sure that happens, Senator? Is there a plan? Does the president have a plan to guarantee that that happens?
No, it's not his job or my job to do this.
You see, we just break it. We don't buy it. The whole idea you break it, we break it.
How many times do I have to tell you? Our job is to make sure Iran is no longer the largest state sponsor of terrorism, to help the people reconstruct a new government, no boots on the ground. We don't own, this idea you break it, you own it. I don't buy that one bit.
Look at that.
It's in America's interest to make sure the Ayatollah is dead. He's dead.
Words right out of my mouth. I didn't even watch that whole clip. He's literal. Wow, what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? If anybody was old enough to live through the Iraq War and you're getting deja vu, you're not alone, and there's nothing wrong with you. This is so absurdly identical to the shit we were seeing in the run-up to and in the early days of the Iraq War. All right, well, does anybody have a plan for post-war Iran? Oh, yeah, this guy, Reza Pahlavi, who now takes out an op-ed in the Washington Post. Thanks to President Trump, the hour of Iran's freedom is at hand. Iran is not Iraq. Oh, that's good. That's good, says Maryland man Reza Pahlavi. We will not...
Let me be honest with you. My dad might have tortured some folks.
Yeah.
That might be why they had a revolution in the first place. But you can trust me.
Yeah. Iran is not Iraq. We will not repeat the mistakes that followed that conflict. There will be no dissolution of institutions, no power vacuum, no chaos. Oh, well, this is putting my mind at ease. That is precisely why my team of experts produced a transition plan called the Iran Prosperity Project. Oh, well, this is a relief. He assembled a team of experts to write a paper about how Iran is going to go. Okay, well, this is looking better. See, it's not all bad news tonight, folks.
And guess who gets to run it?
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, exactly. This detailed roadmap for national recovery, including the first 100 days after the regime's collapse and the longer-term reconstruction and stabilization of our country, is backed by many business leaders around the world. The Post's David Ignatius has called the IPP smarter than anything the U.S. government or Iraqi exiles produced before the 2003 invasion. Oh, well, if David Ignatius says it's a slam dunk, then, I mean, you should have just led with that, kind of burying the lead there.
Does David Ignatius have a bean?
Yeah, does he have a bean? Yeah, kind of burying the lead there, Reza. Why didn't you lead with that? That was very reassuring. David Ignatius likes the idea. Iran, I forgot David Ignatius was alive.
And business leaders.
Yeah, and business leaders. And the business community.
Crisis actors.
Yeah, exactly. Iran's democratic opposition groups, monarchists and Republicans, secular and religious minorities, leftists, liberals, and every ethnicity are united on four foundational principles.
Death to Israel.
Yeah, exactly. Iran's territorial integrity, individual liberties, and equality of all citizens, separation of religion and state, and the Iranian people's right to decide a democratic form of government. Was that right? Many Iranians, often despite facing bullets, have called on me to lead this transition. I am in awe of their courage, and I have answered their call. Our path forward will be transparent. A new constitution drafted and ratified by referendum, followed by free elections under international oversight. When Iranians vote, the transitional government dissolves. A democratic Iran would transform the Middle East, turning one of the world's most persistent sources of upheaval into a pillar of regional stability. When have we heard that before? How many times have we heard that before? That sounds very familiar to me. I'm sure if you search the Washington Post archive, you could probably find about 10 or 12 op-eds pretty much identical in tone and intent to this one that turned out being completely wrong. But who knows? Maybe he knows something that we don't. President Trump's historic Abraham Accords prove that peace between long-standing adversaries is possible when the right conditions exist. A free Iran would extend that breakthrough by immediately recognizing Israel. Oh, okay, well, there you go. That's the key. That's how you bring peace to the Middle
Maddow
East.
say? Cui bono.
Cui bono. Cui bono, that's right. And pursuing a broader regional peace framework linking Iran, Israel, and our Arab neighbors in cooperation rather than conflict. This sounds very sweet. I suggest, look, even has a name. I suggest calling the agreement the Cyrus Accords for Cyrus the Great, the benevolent ancient Persian ruler whom Thomas Jefferson cited as an inspiration. Such an agreement would replace the regime's ideology of hostility with a foundation for peace. So that's his plan. That's his plan. Let's see if Sky News is buying his plan, because some experts who are not David Ignatius seem to think there is potential for widespread chaos and civil war.
Even that is signaling to the Israelis, because Cyrus is the only one of the Persian leaders revered in the Bible for allowing the Jews to return.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, this whole thing is a signal to the Israelis. So let's see what this expert has to say. Let's see if he's as smart as David Ignatius.
Who takes over the reins now? I mean, there had been some suggestions of a return back to a Shah, Reza Pahlavi, who is the exiled crown prince of Iran. He's spent about 50 years living abroad now. He has already overnight outlined his plan for what he says would be an orderly and transparent transition to a democratic Iran. Can it get back to a democracy? And how long would that realistically take?
Well, there are so many people. I mean, certainly there are a large number of Iranians. Remember, it's a 90 million population. It's a huge country. There are plenty of people that really dislike their government. They were willing to go on the street and protest at great personal risk to themselves just in January. But there are also a bunch of rusted-on adherents of this regime and see it as a revolutionary and religious regime that they support. So civil war is a potential here, but really the people with the guns are still the regime. They have the upper hand when the bombs stop.
Okay, so what he's saying there is something that Reza Pahlavi didn't really mention in his article, which is that, yeah, okay, assuming there is unity among opposition groups, which I don't know enough to confirm or deny or rebuke, there are some people there who are not part of opposition groups. There are loyalists to the regime who apparently exist in pretty great number. We just saw the big rallies out in the streets. And so what you're going to have is what you had every other time you tried a regime change war, which is chaotic, sectarian, violence, widespread immiseration, displacement, death of American troops who may or may not be deployed on the ground. I know they're swearing that's not going to happen. Yeah, we'll see about that. We've already had American casualties and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of Iranian casualties, if not millions. I mean, obviously, we hope it doesn't come to any of this, but that is a more realistic read on it, okay? Because what everyone in the media wants to do is just erase the Iranians who are loyal to the regime and pretend that, no, there's not going to be a civil war. What are you, crazy? Which, of course, is just completely ahistorical and ignorant, obviously. So Matt Walsh even has some questions about this. He says, what exactly is the end game? The Iranian people rise up and take control of their government? Okay, what does that mean exactly? Which people? How are they taking control? What happens after they do take control? Are we sure the new people, whoever they are, will be better than the old people? What if they have trans bathrooms? How do we know they won't have trans bathrooms? How are we going to make sure of that? How are we going to make sure of it while also not putting boots on the ground? This has not been explained. It needs to be. Well, spoiler alert, it's not going to be. Live updates. Pompeo says Iran prepared for scenario where leadership was wiped out, not remotely over. Oh, so it's going to last a lot longer and be a lot harder than the media says it is, and that Donald Trump and that the Marco Rubio says it is. Again, this is just the same exact script we've seen over and over and over again. It's even getting pushed back here. You have the Three Stooges from Hell episode, their new podcast. Eric Prince, the Blackwater guy, he says he doesn't like this idea.
I'm not happy about the whole thing. I don't think this was in America's interest. It's going to uncork a significant can of worms and chaos and destruction in Iran now. Who takes over? You still have tens, hundreds of thousands of IRGC people that will be positioning to be number two, to be the next rulers of that country. I don't see how this is in keeping with the president's MAGA commitment. I'm disappointed.
Okay, so you got the Blackwater guy disappointed. He's coming out against this. If Mr. Blackwater, I tweeted out, this is like Dave Portnoy coming out against pizza when you got this guy coming out against the regime change.
Well, he didn't get a contract. That's why.
Yeah, he got stiffed. Got
Yeah.
snubbed, I guess. All right, so look, I mean, you got some of the commentariat expressing some doubts about this. You got Reza Pahlavi writing an op-ed in the Washington Post, but there seems to be a lot of holes in that plan. You seem to have some in the media speculating that, hey, maybe this is not going to go too well. Even Lindsey Graham just admits on Meet the Press, yeah, no, we don't have a plan. That's really not for us to determine. So who has a plan? Well, it seems like this is the one guy who has a plan. This seems like this is the one guy who's had a plan for a long time. So here he is, back in Tel Aviv, I guess. He fled the country, of course, when the war started, as he always does, as great leaders do. That's what wartime leaders do. They launch an attack and then they flee to somewhere safe.
That's most people don't know this. Henry V actually gave the St. Crispin's Day speech from England.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
from England. He had one of those big megaphones.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So here he is. I'll read the translation since this is in Hebrew. Hang on. I just finished meeting with the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Staff, and the head of the Mossad. I gave instructions for the continuation of the campaign. Yesterday, we eliminated the tyrant Khomeini, and along with him, we eliminated dozens of the regime's senior oppressive figures. Our forces are now striking in the heart of Tehran with increasing strength, and this will only grow stronger over the coming days. And yet, these are painful days. Yesterday here in Tel Aviv, and now in Beit Shemesh, we lost dear people. My heart goes out to the families, and I send on behalf of all you citizens of Israel, may the wounded be flown up. We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full force of the IDF to this campaign as never before to ensure our existence and our future. But we are also bringing to this campaign the assistance of the United States, my friend, United States President Donald Trump, the U.S. military, and this combination of forces allows us to do what I have been wishing to do for 40 years, to decisively strike the terrorist regime. I promise so and so it will be done. So he just said it right there. I've been wanting to do this for 40 years. That's the man with the plan right there. It's his war. It's his war. He's the guy with the vision. He's the guy with the plan. He just needed someone who would execute this plan for him on his terms, and he got it in Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's movement is now stuck with the biggest L they could have possibly taken. This makes the Epstein files look like a cakewalk, because when you look at the history of these 21st century regime change interventions, according to Tulsi Gabbard from some years ago, Iran will make Iraq look like a picnic. And that's what we have now. And it is just astounding to see the same lines of obvious bullshit repeated 23 years, almost to the day after the Iraq War. Don't forget, the Iraq War was launched in March of 2003, and here we are on March 1st, 2026, hearing essentially the exact same propaganda package, just repurposed for a new war that has very, very serious potential to be much, much worse. And the guy in the driver's seat is the last guy we showed you, Benjamin Netanyahu. No one else has a plan. This has been his life's mission to do this, and now he's getting his wish.
Yeah, I remember it used to be when people talked about the ZOG, Zionist occupational government, you'd say, oh, wow, look at these crazy anti-Semites. Can't really say that anymore. It is the Zog. You have the Zionist occupation government runs the United States. This makes no political, military, economic sense for not only the United States, but for the one thing Donald Trump cares about. Donald Trump. This makes no sense for Donald Trump, and he knows it. And it's very clear to everyone who's paid attention to his signaling on this that he did not want to do this. So who's your president? Not Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the finance people around Trump who answer to Netanyahu. Howard Lutnick. You always see him in the background of those pictures, right? A lot of people have shown that. Yeah, man. Why do you think Lutnick, after those Epstein files, didn't have to resign? Like you're having people resign all over the world, man, because Trump's not in charge. Trump's not in charge. He's a spokesmodel. They used to say that about Reagan. Reagan was MacArthur compared to Trump. Trump has no control over this administration, man. He is a middle management guy working for the finance people around him who in turn work for Netanyahu. A unique wrinkle in this is because of the way they really pumped up. They did this with the Taliban too. That, you know, it's a women's rights issue to get like liberals to go along with it. I'll get into that in my segment. So yeah, I mean, you have some liberals who are like, yes, finally that evil man is dead, you know, and they've been fed all kinds of atrocity propaganda about the Iranians taking out women's wombs and just these crazy stories that they repeat uncritically. I'm seeing libs sharing out statements from the fucking Shah's son. You mean
this guy with the op-ed?
Yeah. It's sharing out Pahlavi as like sign this petition with a picture of Pahlavi. I'm sorry. It's Americans in general are incredibly brainwashed and ignorant, but they're brainwashed and ignorant in different flavors depending on the audience, but it all leads to the same place. It all leads back to supporting regime agendas and propaganda that does not in any way benefit the population. With libs, you got to sell them on, think of the women. Think of the women, they're oppressed. With conservatives, you got to sell them on, look at these dirty Muslims. They hate the West. They hate civilization, a civilization that you're not in any particular way benefiting from, but you're part of it, and they hate it. It's two different pitches just to neutralize two different potential sources of opposition. I will say, though, and we talked about this when we went live, it's not 2001, man. It's not 2001. The vast majority of people of all political stripes are not buying this shit at all. At all. Look, back then, you were a lonely voice if you spoke against that Iraq war. Like, yeah, there were protests, sure, but that wasn't the average person. If you talk to the average person, they supported that. I'm not seeing anybody really supporting this now who's not being paid to. The Patriots are supporting it. I'm not seeing normal people support it, except, honestly, the only people I am seeing support this are libs. Are libs who swallowed atrocity propaganda about how they treat women.
Yeah, the Reuters poll just came out before the show, 27% support. Now, unfortunately, 43% oppose and 30% are unsure, which is pathetic. I mean, it's just absolutely pathetic. But those 30% who are unsure are certain to be persuaded into the opposed direction. So to Russ's point, this is essentially the flip side of 2003, where 70% supported the invasion of Iraq. Now only the 27% are on board with this. And those numbers were taken before news came in, which we're going to get into in this next segment here, or this next part of it. I'll just go right into part B here, since it's all kind of one piece. So things got serious here very quickly, as we knew. U.S. Central Command, Tampa, Florida. As of 9:30 a.m. Eastern, March 1st, 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action and 5 are seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue, and our response effort is ongoing. The situation is fluid, so out of respect for the families, we will withhold additional information, including the identities of our fallen warriors, until 24 hours after next of kin have been notified. And, the replies here, not good. Believe me, not good. Gen X girl. Trump will fight to the last U.S. soldier for Israel with his quote there, "The lives of Americans may be lost. That often happens in war." That was his announcement with the baseball cap early yesterday morning. "I want you to die for Israel," says Uncle Sam. "Dear soldiers, get ready. You're going to die for Israel." See, everybody knows this. Everybody knows this, to our point in the last piece here. So, you mentioned how the MAGA patriots are kind of... towing the line here. And they are, but you can tell when their heart's in it and when it's not. And even this is like it's inching closer to neutrality than he normally does. It's not shoot this into my veins like when they see an ICE person, beating the shit out of a nurse or something. So here's Nick Sorter. President Trump speaks out on the 3 Americans killed in Operation Epic Fury. So this was quotes given to the press as read on NBC.
Service members killed in Iran strikes. Quote, "We expect casualties with something like this. We have 3, but we expect casualties. But in the end, it's going to be a great deal for the world."
It's going to be a great deal.
Trump also says U.S. is ahead of schedule and suggests possible decapitation of Iranian leadership, meaning taking them all out, as many as they can. And of course, we just heard from the IDF Brigadier General and spokesperson in Israel saying, look, they have a long list of attacks and goals. They haven't even gotten through the second day yet. They are working steadily.
Yeah, this is not good. Not good for all of these people here. Nancy Mace. 3 American heroes were killed during Operation Epic Fury. 5 more seriously wounded. We will never forget the price they paid defending our great nation. Praying for our troops and their families. God bless each and every one of them. The replies, not good. Which nation is that? Yeah, taking a screenshot from Nancy Mace bragging about voting to send aid to Israel. Goldman says, Israelis on the beach, Americans on the beach. I like this one. You're an anti-Semite if you don't get in the box. These are the replies.
I've shared that one,
Yeah, these are the replies to Nancy Mace. Well, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene reacts to this horrible news. My God, these poor military members and their poor families. I'm sorry for them and praying for them. This was absolutely unnecessary and is unacceptable. Trump, Vance, Tulsi, and all of us campaigned on no more foreign wars and regime change. Now American soldiers are dead. Ambassador Mike Waltz, this guy also got a lot of flack for this tweet. Freedom is never free. Yeah, that's his response to this. Doesn't even offer any kind of condolences. Just no, freedom is never free. No, these troops here, they weren't free until they died for Israel's war. And again, just a sampling of the replies. We were free before, Mike. Well, not exactly, but this didn't make you any more free. Now 3 U.S. service members are dead for no reason other than your cult leader being a pedo. Jeff Carlson, none of this needed to happen. Roddy Globensberg, get your fat ass over to Tehran and put in the work instead of recycling brain-dead, patriotic slogan slop from the Bush years. You absolute fucking dipshit. And yeah, goes on. What the fuck is wrong with you, psychopaths? What freedom was Iran challenging the U.S. on? Just brutal. The Trump family, the Netanyahu family, and your son coming back in a coffin. These were all the replies to everybody who tried to express some goodwill for these soldiers. It wasn't flying because everybody sees right through what's going on here. 3 U.S. troops killed in Iran attack, reports Politico. 3 U.S. troops killed and 5 more seriously wounded as part of the joint U.S.-Israel operation targeting Iranian military sites and government officials, according to U.S. Central Command, marking the first American deaths in the conflict, and apparently schools, too, which we're going to get to later. There are the first confirmed U.S. fatalities since President Donald Trump announced Saturday that the U.S. had begun major combat operations in Iran. Iran has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones at American forces in the region since American and Israeli strikes began, according to a U.S. official, most of which were intercepted by air defenses. The person was granted anonymity to discuss a sensitive topic. Iran said it has retaliated against U.S. military facilities in several countries in the Persian Gulf, as well as launched barrages of missiles towards Israel. These include air bases. I'm not going to try to read all these, but in Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE, and in Bahrain. Mowafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan was also targeted, according to Iranian state media, as well as a U.S. base in northern Iraq. And yep, this afternoon, Iranian drones hit a U.S. base in Erbil, Iraq. A weapons depot is on fire with secondary explosions still rocking the areas. Pray for our troops. As of now, I don't think there are any confirmed deaths beyond the 3. But, of course, if you take Donald Trump's word for it, there's likely to be more because, hey, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. So here's Donald Trump issuing a video statement about the 3 fallen soldiers, as reported by CENTCOM earlier today.
CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case.
That's the way it is, says President Bone Spurs over here. That's the way it is.
Remember that? There was the news show they used to sign off. That's the way it is today.
That's the way it is today.
Yeah.
Yep, that's just the way it is. You just gotta get in the box for BB.
I think that was Brinkley. He was horrible. He was terrible. I hated him. I hated him. I had dinner with him. He chewed with his mouth open. He talked without food in his mouth. Terrible. Terrible. He seemed like a very classy guy. That's why I had dinner with him. I was shocked. He had hot dogs. I had to see him chewing up the hot dogs. And I think he was talking about Russia or something. Awful.
Yeah.
And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible.
That's the way it is. You know what that feels a lot like? That sounds a lot like the Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make Benghazi moment, you know? Of course, if a Democrat had come up and responded to 3 American soldiers being killed in an obvious war of choice, and they came up and said, hey, you know, that's just the way it is, I can tell you Nick Sorter would have some nasty shit to say about that. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you Eric Doherty would be all over that.
Oh, yeah.
I would bet everything in my everything I own that they would have some pretty nasty stuff to say about that. And comments like these are gonna live forever, and they're certainly gonna live 7 months when these midterm ads start rolling. Like, it is unbelievable that we're living through this. You know, Dave DeCamp tweeted out, you know, something to the effect of, for those who don't know, Dave DeCamp writes for antiwar.com, friend of the show. We've had him on several times. He said, you know, as closely as I've been covering this, as much as, you know, like my brain told me to expect this, I still kind of have a hard time believing that it actually happened. And I kind of feel the same exact way. Like, yeah, my brain tells me, of course, this was going to happen, but it still just feels so surreal to watch this happen again. And, you know, we could spend the whole night here playing montage after montage of all of these people promising not to do this. From Donald Trump, but not just Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, it's just extraordinary that they took us here. That they took us here. And, you know, one point that Nick Cruz made, you know, during the campaign, and he turned out to be 100% right about, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people thought about, is, you know, this is part of the consequence of electing a president who can only serve 1 term. They're not accountable to you once they win. Once they get in and do whatever the hell they want, what the hell does Donald Trump care? All Donald Trump knows is whatever Israel has on him, he wants that to remain quiet, and he's certainly governing in a way that suggests he does not care how despised he is, because I've been around a lot of retired military when I used to do my tours for the RVers going down to New York City. A lot of old Vietnam veterans, a lot of military people from the heartland and from the South. I can tell you a quote like that after 3 Americans are killed for absolutely no fucking reason whatsoever is really not going to play well. It's not going to play well. I expect this 27% number to shrink even lower as the days go on, if not tomorrow, because I guarantee you that poll was taken before these men were killed. When Americans start coming back in coffins, that changes things for a lot of people, even people who are only marginally interested in this.
Yeah. Well, the word is Trump is now going to negotiate with the new leadership of Iran. And by all accounts, the Iranians, yes, they have a structure that allows for removal of leadership, unlike a place like, say, Syria, that was very much built around Assad. It's not just going to collapse like that. And they have a lot of weapons. And in spite of the fact that they're mostly trying to keep it out of the public eye, Israel is taking very heavy damage. There's a guy who sells steak. His name's Scott Ritter, who told us on Jimmy Dore's show, Trump's a revolutionary. He's a revolutionary. He's kind of making the rounds now. Oh, yeah, they started the war. It was, I think a few weeks ago, he was actually talking about how Trump stopped the war. That's yeah, look, you want to sell some steaks, you got to be nimble. You got to be nimble. Yeah. You got to, which is not easy for a guy that size, but you got to know how to dance around. He's a revolutionary. It was pretty obvious. See, by that time, we were already saying, because it was so clear the way they would always, whenever they were asked about Israel, the whole cabinet would bend the knee. It wasn't that hard to see what they were actually going to do. In the end, once you saw everyone from Tulsi Gabbard on down, when they were asked about Israel, would start immediately say, "Oh yeah, no, these student protesters, they're being influenced by Hamas." That was Tulsi before the election. Even it was very clear you're going to get policy dictated by Israel. They all signaled that very clearly. It was very clear. He was not a revolutionary. He's not revolutionary. He's an Israeli plant. Maybe that would have been a little more accurate. I think for a lot of people in our space, it's hard to get access to anybody who's ever been close to real power. So they feel flattered by getting that access. But you really shouldn't platform people who are just on whatever side they need to be at any given time. Just because you had a role in government, that doesn't really mean that you actually know what the fuck you're talking about. It was pretty clear from the way these people all talked about Israel that you were going to get a government by and for Israel. And now here we are. The only thing you needed to know to predict what this administration was going to do was what they said about Israel. I mean, that's very clear now, isn't it? That this has nothing to do with the United States, has nothing to do with what the American people want. This is purely a play for Israel. And that's going to dictate how this moves forward. If Israel wants this to end, it'll end. If Israel takes enough damage, this will end. That's
the thing.
Will make it end.
I mean, the negotiations, whatever negotiations they're talking about, we just have to assume are a ruse until further notice, We always do this where, this is what happened during the 12-day war, where we said that we were, going to continue negotiations, and then boom, I was watching Ritter on George Galloway, and he said, part of the reason they sent the kids to school is because they didn't think the war was going to start, and then boom, now you have how many dead? 60 as of last count. Now it's over 100. I don't know how many are children, but look, this is just an absolute horror. It's disgusting that we have to go through this again, and it's it's a real shame that this country just cannot, break this cycle where we just kind of like, just lead with our head, walk right into one of these fucking horror shows, right? Even when you try to avoid it, right? Donald Trump coming up there. I mean, this is why I say it's not one of the most fraudulent political campaigns ever. It's the most fraudulent campaign ever, because they made every promise not to do this. Multiple people in this cabinet made every promise not to do this, and you're not even getting resignations over it. Like, I'm sorry, Tulsi Gabbard should resign. J.D. Vance, if he wants any political future, should resign. RFK Jr. at this point should resign. He ran as a peace cat. Look, they're making you eat shit on fucking glyphosate. So, like, what else are you getting at it? What is left of this bargain? Like, you have to salvage what's left of your reputation. And not only that, you got to make it clear, like, look, we're not being a part of this. So if you want to staff a government and make the government run, you're going to have to find people who are willing to be a part of this. And that's not going to be easy to do. Like, everybody needs to do what they can to stop this. And if that means, denying Trump a vice president or denying Trump a DNI for the time being, like, these people I know are against this. It's just a question of, do they have the courage to come out and say it? Tulsi Gabbard hasn't said a fucking word. She hasn't said a goddamn word about any of this. It's just really stunning. It's really shameful.
There's a very rare type of bear that is only found in Iran, and the president has promised to let me fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's read some super chats. Why not?
So, I'm just, and this won't be part of the clip, but just to respond to some of the chat. Yeah, listen, man, everyone's against Trump now. That's easy. If your career is you're presenting yourself as an expert and an analyst, what's important is what you say ahead of time. Now, I mean, of course, right? You go run around talking about he's a revolutionary. Come on, man. And then you're supposed to be taken seriously as an analyst. Why? Like, it's very easy right now to be like, this is terrible. Anybody can say that. You can go to the corner and get that opinion. If you're supposed to be an expert, you're supposed to see things coming, not be glazing a cabinet of obvious fucking Israel first criminals. All right, some super chats. We got lots of them. Thank you, folks. JHLB, that's a lot. You, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, and Redacted are the only places I get news anymore. Looking to buy some property in Southeast Asia for retirement one day. America is cursed. Love you guys. I agree with that. Just remember, in terms of where I am, it depends on where you go. There are a lot of rules, actually, for land ownership in general. Vietnam, you cannot technically own land here. It is owned by the state. It's kind of like China, where you have like a long-term lease on it. So keep that in mind. From what I understand, also with Thailand, I don't think you can buy property in your own right. I think you have to buy it at least jointly with a Thai citizen. I'm not positive about that, but you should look into it. I mean, at least within there are other countries, Malaysia, the Philippines might have different laws, but within the little, land mass I'm on, I think there are a lot of rules about that. Okay. Gilroy, super sticker. Thank you, man. Mary Beth, love you guys. I appreciate your principled reporting of the facts, especially your moral and ethical analysis, and your humor really helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Appreciate that.
Get you a prayer bell. In these times, appropriately, the cowbell has become a prayer bell because we're all getting by on a wing and a prayer these days. Amadeus, Iran yeets aircraft carrier 5,000 die Gimli. Quote, that still only counts as one. That went over my head. James Holmes, hello there. UK to allow USA to allow strikes from our bases now. I just read that. We are such a cuck nation. It's depressing, but expected. Yeah, well, we saw Starmer go up and make a whole speech supporting this. Amadeus, why is Vietnam on board of peace, Russ? What are they saying? That's a good question. You know what? I haven't had time to look into that. Honestly, but I will. We have a day off now. I'm curious about that. I didn't even find out about that from an article. I found out about that from a comment I read. Empire we are. In the 90s, we provided 25 F-15s to Israel. I knew that those 25 aircraft were built to carry and deploy U.S. B-61 nuclear weapons. Iran is crazy for not acquiring a nuclear deterrent decades ago. You're right. You're right. History shows us anything. It's the only thing that's going to keep the U.S. off your country. Scruffy Swamp Yankee found out that World War III started after I got back from a weekend ice fishing in the Maine wilderness. Time to go back, right? Brad Gilbert, new rabbit hole. Rothschilds equals Red Shield. Red in Hebrew equals Edom. Edomites come from Esau. Sold his birthright to Jacob Israel and married a Canaanite. Edomites forced to convert to Judaism. Still bitter? Well, that is quite... You should give that to Maddow.
Yeah.
So she can open with that. Condone Hamas. Damn poor Israel took all those rockets, and Rachel figured out they didn't do anything wrong. Qatar JS, infamous for their false flag attacks. James Holmes, if only Will Robinson was still here. World War III averted. Danger, Will Robinson. DC 8828, Farsi is the predominant language, not Arabic. Yes, it is. Steve Isidore, Russ leaves U.S. and is aging like Benjamin Button in his beds. I've been hearing that. It's the tan. It's the tan. James Holmes, Lindsey Graham never reached puberty. So sad. He never got that boy with the brottered crumpet fingers. Cray, I'm about Keaton's age, wasn't as politically conscious during W's Iraq War, but somehow this feels more hopeless and terrifying. Am I alone? You know what? I would not agree, because if you look at the comments Keaton showed, that is very, very different. I was a grown-ass man with a job in an apartment during the 2003 Iraq War. And when you spoke out against it, I literally had people say, you know, that's dangerous. You shouldn't talk like that. That was the environment then. So I'd say this is kind of hopeful. I've never seen people this not accepting of war propaganda in my life in America. Nong, nong, nong. Question is, whose puberty is Lindsay hitting? Russell's Peasant Mind. Matt and Kern used to watch Maddow and make fun of her too. Oh, the memories. You know, it's a crime that duo broke up before this happened, because that would have been fucking comedy gold.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Sandor Vorkov. The libs are running their victory laps, posting videos of Kamala warning about Trump leading us into war, failing to mention that she has the exact same position on Iran as the rest of these mutants. Yep. P. Walker, America is so insane now, it can't go more than 20 years before invading a country for dubious reasons. It can't go more than 2 years before invading a country. PHX, Bibi is hiding in the Fuhrer bunker in Berlin. That's exactly what I said when Keaton told me he was in Berlin. Not E4O. Khomeini was seen as soft by many senior clerics for keeping the non-nuclear weapons fatwa. The new leaders will likely be more inclined to get nukes. Yeah. If Israel loses, we lose because of Samson option RIP. Kibbles and Bits. Man, guys, we don't have a dog in this fight. I mean, we do, unwillingly. Amadeus, Iraq tore my heart out. Iran is making me cheer and laugh, rooting for Persia. Yeah, bring back Cyrus, man. Heavy Snack. Sadly, there will likely be more before it ends. That's the way it is. Trump on the death of U.S. service members dying for Israel just hours ago. Yeah, Keaton appropriately focused in on that. Zandor Varkov, Epic Fury. I was also 13 in 2008, too. Nathan Pop, Operation Epic Fury sounds like something a 12-year-old would come up with. I'm frankly surprised it wasn't called Operation Get Wrecked Noob.
Yeah, exactly. Read until Vito, and then I'll do my Rumble rants because I want to show Vito my stuff.
Rajas Anden, super sticker. Thank you, man. Jim Talib, another super sticker. And Vito P, 1959. May we find peace. Cancer sucks. You all rock. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Vito, I don't know if you were at the film club last night, but I received the package from you. So this is the empty bag of Provel cheese and the Emo's pizza beer glass. And so thank you very much. These are awesome. I wanted to shout you out on the show for that. And there's another glass over there for Russ when he gets back. So that'll be great. So shout out to
that's an if now.
yeah. So shout out to Vito P. All right, what do we got over here? Eric Crusoe, Lindsey Graham must be in a wargasm coma. That's right. Vienticus Prime. Apparently Hezbollah has joined the fight. Remember, folks, it's not World War III. It's World War P, though. Vienticus Prime, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so I don't comply. Eric Crusoe, Ben Shapiro and his both eyebrows were having wargasms. Vienticus, I'm just going to full, probably not hyperbole, and say everyone who is in favor of this war is an Epstein lover. Ficus, it always ends in a bunker somewhere in Germany. Professor Brown, no. Transpigism, rather. Lindsay and Benji feasting on bomb-shredded human parts in the gentle breeze of concern from humanity in perpetuity, Goya style. Abiding says, good night, you princes of Mar-a-Lago, you kings of APAC. MAGA has been adopted by a family with a better oxygen tent. Let us all be happy for MAGA. Just in case, says Gay Lives Matter. Devanes, I watch you guys so I don't have to watch Maddow. Please don't subject my face and brain to that dipshit. I'm in physical pain. The drunken scoundrel, only pedos bomb Iran. Eric Crusoe, Iran's supreme leader. They hate our kebabs because they want our kebabs are strong and their kebabs are weak. Good one. When Israel struck Iran, Krauthammer rose from the dead in his wheelchair and screamed out, Bibi, I can walk. Good one. Sounds like Entagam Nervaye Mosley, Armed Forces, Revenge. Okay, yeah, that's what it said. All right, so there you go. Look at that, Vienticus. You got good ear. Good ear. Yo, shush. Only James Bamford covered the collusion between Bibi, Mossad, and Trump in 2016. Maddow's job is to attack Trump and protect Israel. Iran war, attack Trump, protect Israel. Epstein, attack Trump, protect Israel. Vienticus Prime. Remember, empires are gay. Bored of peace? More like bored of pedos, am I right? Freddie X says, thank you for doing that special report yesterday, fellas. Having a trusted source was essential. Best in the biz. Well, thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
Who was the trusted source? Oh, us?
Us.
Wow.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
That's right. All right. Why don't we move right on along here?
Okay. It is hard to find people who support what's going on in Iran. And it's not necessarily the people you expect. You might remember a couple months back, J.K. Rowling got a lot of attention for tweeting out this picture of a Canadian pro-Shah fanatic, not an Iranian. There's an AI version of a photo of her burning a picture of the Ayatollah. Rowling took a break from obsessing on where people are peeing to put this out. If you claim to support human rights, yet can't bring yourself to show solidarity with those fighting for their liberty in Iran, you've revealed yourself. You don't give a damn about people being oppressed and brutalized so long as it's being done by the enemies of your enemies. This is something people always forget about Rowling. Rowling was a lib in good standing until she got on the wrong think side of trans issues. She's essentially a lib. This is a very lib take. This is somebody who retconned Dumbledore as gay to virtue signal to libs. There's no way that she wrote that character with that in mind. There's absolutely no breadcrumbs, no Easter eggs, no indication of that. One day she woke up and decided that she wanted to virtue signal that to people. She's a lib, and this is a very libby take on a very complicated situation that you probably shouldn't be commenting on. And Max responded to that A billionaire fiction writer tweets an AI rendering of a photo of a monarchist fanatic in Canada. It is then algorithmically astroturfed by the ultra-Zionist defense contractor who owns this site. A perfect symbol of the current round of Iran regime change psyops. I'm gonna have a rare minor disagreement with Max here. I do not believe that Elon is an ultra-Zionist in his heart. I believe he's an ultra-Zionist by blackmail and maybe, desire for those defense contracts. I think that guy probably hates Jews, to be honest. But whatever he did on that island, it must have been a doozy. That's my theory. Now, sometimes it's useful just to show, I keep some libs in my social media to see what they're saying. So I've erased the identity, but this is just a civilian, not a pro. Where is the outrage? 2,000 dead. This was January 17th during the protests. 10,000 arrested, blackout. That demon of Musk, where is he? He could connect them with Starlink and be useful once in his life. Keaton, didn't he actually do that? Didn't he actually give them Starlink?
The who Starlink?
During the Iranian protests? I think he actually did do that.
I'm not sure.
All of the wannabe smart. Why are you silent? Where are the protests for peace, for human rights? Gaza, yes. Iran, no. You heard this from a lot of them. And every single person, every single lib I saw say that, I never saw say a fucking word about Gaza. Not a word about Gaza. They're accusing people of not saying anything about Iran, but talking about Gaza, but they only wanted to talk about Iran and not Gaza. They want to mention Gaza. Because generally, this is the thing with libs. They like consequence-free virtue signaling. That's where they live. That's their sweet spot. And you speak out against Israel. For a lot of people, there can be social and professional consequences. You're probably not going to face any consequences for speaking out against Iran. There's not a big pro-Iranian regime contingent in the West with any meaningful power in our institutions that could make you suffer for a post about Palestinians being genocided. So this is the lib sweet spot, man. Just virtue signal without consequences. Be honest. You don't have the guts to talk bad about Islam. Not all Islam is the same. There are wonderful Muslims in the world. I used to work with this person. If I were to tell you what she used to say about Muslims, we'd get kicked off YouTube. But those running the autocracy of Iran must go. That kind of Islam must go. Free Iran, free Persia. Okay. All right. And then, hey, man, you don't have to be a lefty to be a white feminist. Look at fat piece of shit, Roseanne Barr here, newly Ozempically slimmed Roseanne. If you're mad that women are gaining freedom, you may be a terrible piece of shit. Now, the good kind of white feminist responded to this. It was Comrade Misty. If you actually think that's what this is about, you're definitely dumb as fuck. Yes, Roseanne Barr is definitely dumb as fuck. On that, we can all agree.
I would say she's obviously dumb as fuck. Yeah.
Very, very obviously.
But obvious moron.
Yes. Yes. You're such a fantastic moron. But you know what? And you guys can go check their feeds. I did when I was prepping this. So far, nothing. I have not seen any of these feminists who are so concerned about the women of Iran say anything about the U.S. and Israel bombing a girls' school and killing. The last number I saw was almost 150 girls between the ages of 7 and 14. I haven't seen them say a word about that. You care so much about women and girls. You'd think they'd want to say something about that. This Code Pink. The United States and Israel bombed a girls' elementary school in Maddow, southern Iran. Now, at the time they tweeted this, they didn't have the full numbers. It was only 40 at that time. So let's see some footage here. People had just dropped their children off at school. There's other footage, just heartbreaking, of parents going through the bags of their children's belongings. This is Jake GTV. Parents had just dropped their kids off for school Saturday morning when bombs began falling across Iran in a joint U.S.-Israel strike. At all-girls elementary school in Maddow, at least 100 children killed, with dozens still missing. Quote, Iranians are celebrating. Yeah, that's what they would have you believe. Iranians are celebrating. So let's see how this man at the site of this horror is celebrating. Let me turn this down. You think with these crimes you can distance us from Islam, our religion, God, and our prophet? You're blind. We've seen far worse crimes. Witness Karbala. This student, I believe, no doubt, had a connection with Haj Qasem. I feel he had a connection with Haj Qasem. Look at the shape of his hand. I believe this hand is no more than 6 or 7 years old. Now look at this child's hand, gentlemen. Yeah, no, they're celebrating, man. They're celebrating. We're being greeted as liberators in Iran, right? You can see that, right? Well, maybe not. Ali Abu Nima, Netanyahu and Trump succeeded in their goal of getting the Iranian masses into the streets. Here they are greeting us as liberators. This is people hitting the streets to mourn the Ayatollah. I thought they hate him. I thought this is what they told us going into Iraq. We're going to be greeted as liberators. And as we pointed out in the last segment, yeah, Iraq, the people were not all that divided about Saddam. They really did hate Saddam. And they still resisted us once we were there. Iranian society is much more divided in their attitude towards their leaders, as you can see. You can't fake this. Just because and even people who might have issues with the leadership, that doesn't mean they want a bunch of Westerners to come in and bomb them. This is from Al Jazeera. We went audio only because sometimes they tag you. This has kind of gone viral. This is the kind of thing you are never going to see on CNN. He is a professor at Tehran University speaking here. Dr. Fawad, hang on, I got to blow this up to see that. Dr. Fawad Azadi.
An off-ramp for Iran.
I think what will happen is that even if the United States is able to kill illegally Iranian leaders, the next generation of Iranians, the Iranians that did not see American atrocities in Iran before 1979, some Iranians that did not understand why their parents and grandparents were anti-American, those Iranians will take over. Now they understand why American government is an imperialist, vicious government, and a government that attacks other countries and kills little children. They understand they're fighting the Epstein class that either rape little girls or bomb little girls. This is the government that we are witnessing. they are going to fight back against that government, and they're going to ensure that the Islamic Republic of Iran will live many years after America destroys itself.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people around the world found that a lot more sensible than Donald Trump's shit happens speech. Drop Site they have someone on the ground there. They've been doing some great reporting, probably the best I've seen around. So we'll read a little bit from them. The death toll at the Shajara Tayyebe Girls Primary School in Maddow has risen to 148 dead and 95 wounded, Iranian state media reported. Most of those killed were between the ages of 7 and 12. So where are the white feminists? Where are the white feminists who care so much about the women and girls? Where are they? Small children who knew nothing of politics or wars, from Drop Site News. Quote, I cannot understand how a place where innocent children learn can be bombed like this. This man lost his 6-year-old daughter. Mohammed Shariatamadar told Drop Site, we are talking about small children who knew nothing of politics or wars, and yet they are the ones paying the highest price, unquote. Some 170 students were inside the building attending morning classes when the missile struck. At least 108 people were killed, according to the public prosecutor's office in Maddow, many of them schoolgirls between 7 and 12 years old. The number went up after this article was published. It was unclear if it was a U.S. or Israeli strike. On Saturday, CENTCOM spokesperson said they were looking into the reports. Oh, they're looking into it. That's good. That's a relief. I'm sure the parents are very relieved to hear that. Maddow sits far from Tehran, but the school was adjacent to a naval base belonging to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Hormozgan province, where the small city of Maddow is located, borders the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most strategically sensitive waterways. A resident of Maddow who spoke to Drop Site on the condition of anonymity said explosions shook the city Saturday morning, sending residents into an immediate panic. Then reports started emerging that the school had been hit. Quote, everyone rushed to the school the moment they heard the blast, the resident who spoke to Drop Site on the condition of anonymity said. Chaos took over completely. Security forces were trying to push families back, fearing the area would be targeted again. The school building was reduced to a massive pile of rubble, and dozens of schoolgirls were trapped under the concrete. People began trying to frantically dig them out with their bare hands. Families wandered around in shock, searching for their children amid the wreckage. Quote, the final number of dead reached around half the students in the school, the residents said. A couple of reactions. This is Council of State Media. Imagine telling the world that you're liberating the women of Iran, and one of the first things you do is blow up a school full of girls. Extraordinary. Sean King, with 118 elementary school-aged girls slaughtered by the United States and Israel today in Iran, and again, the number is up to, 148, according to the last report. It's the single deadliest attack against young girls in the modern history of the world. If these girls were white Christians or Jews, it would be the biggest story for months. Oh my God, can you imagine if a missile hit a girls' school in Israel and it killed that many Israeli girls? Are you seeing this plastered all over the front pages? You would. You sure as hell would if that were Israel. No doubt about it. You cannot have enough contempt for these liberal white feminist scum. You cannot hate these people enough. The left, very broadly defined, they're going to tend to be anti-war. So if you want to neutralize that, you have to give them a virtue signal to hang that on. But it's not hard to do. It's not hard to do because these people are mindless. They're a so-called movement of hall monitors. The hall monitors wind up libs. People who liked reporting people for going to the bathroom without a pass in school, those are the people who wind up Democrats. And it's not hard, man. Just tell them, think of the women. Think of the women, and they buy it every time. And it's particularly easy with them because they're the last people in the world who still think corporate media does journalism. So whatever they hear on that, they buy it. You could tell them, oh yeah, no, the regime is giving forced hysterectomies to thousands of women. We're not going to show you any evidence of that. We're just going to tell you that based on some regime change agent plant who's going to give us an interview claiming that. And they just repeat it, man. They just repeat it. But where are they when this happens? Where are they? See, it's easy to laugh these people off, but they're actually really fucking dangerous because the libs, by their nature, they have a tendency to have more prestige than the MAGA people in terms of the institutions they work in. They tend to have a lot of kind of middle management jobs. They have more representation. Their voice carries more weight in the society than your average MAGA person. So when they get behind these things, you're really neutralizing what could be a much more effective line of resistance because they tend to have occupations that carry more social status with it. But it's all of a piece. People I know who have jobs like that, they all have these kinds of politics, but that goes together, man. The only way you would get that job is if you have those kinds of politics. If you don't have those kinds of politics, they won't give you those kinds of jobs. Again, this is why hall monitors wind up with these politics. That's why hall monitors wind up with those jobs. They're just absolutely fucking mindless people. And if you notice, if you do know people like that, like I do, they're real quiet now. They're real quiet now. You're not hearing them say anything about mourning for these girls and the parents of these girls. And they're in a pickle because what are they going to do? Support Trump's war, right? They can't do that. So they're in a trap of their own making. But in many ways, those people are more dangerous than your most rabid right-wing ICE-supporting MAGA chud.
I don't know if I'd go that far in the last half a sentence, but I think, yeah, for the most part, yes. I mean, it is, I think a lot of it is just a function of the media that they consume, right? If you watch Rachel Maddow, and Rachel Maddow is talking about how, oh, yeah, no, Trump declared war because Qatar wanted to depose the Ayatollah, and they gave Trump a plane. I mean, a lot of it is a function of that, and you're right. I mean, and to Sean King's point, yeah, I mean, if it were a bunch of white girls in a school like that, forget it. You'd never hear the end of it.
They'd lose their mind.
It would be the crime of the century,
Yep.
right? So, yeah, I mean, I think it is very much a function of where people get information and how. And also, you know, this is similar to what we saw for, you know, throughout the Gaza genocide, where you had a lot of liberals just very, very quiet about it, right? Now, you could chalk that up to, well, Biden was doing it, but it wasn't just that, because even after Trump took office, you know, Trump was doing this for a year. They still didn't have anything to say about it. So, yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, you see a lot of bipartisan consensus for this war. You had the Democrats stall on the war powers vote. You had Mark Kelly come out, give a pretty terrible statement, which he then revised because he's getting a lot of shit for it. Newsom's statement was horrible. Obviously, Jeffrey's statement is horrible because they're all more or less for this, with very, very few exceptions. And, you know, this is just the kind of horror that we've been rubber stamping for really as long as we've been a country, really. But in this context, if you want to just get specific about it, yeah, these past 3 years, I mean, how many schools have been bombed? Look at the tens of thousands of children in Gaza that's been killed. It's just, it's unspeakable. It really is. And it is very dark, but very predictable that the Israelis would leave their mark as soon as this thing started. One of the first targets they hit is a school full of little girls.
Yeah, that's kind of their signature.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's take some more super chats here. We got any up there? I think I deleted one by accident. I'll have to take a look. Let's see where you start. I think I fucked up, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead and read some. I'll see. I think I made
Lead 11.
Yeah.
Scott Ritter gave Trump 3 months nonstop hate. Now, no, that's not true. Because when the first Iran bombing stopped, this was about a month ago. He went on a whole tear about how Trump had stood in the way of Israel, wanted an attack on Iran. It was about a month ago, and Trump didn't allow it. And then I think it was Mearsheimer who had what I think was probably the more real take, especially that's what I thought at the time, and now it's very clear. Mearsheimer, I'm pretty sure it was him. It was him or Sachs, but I think it was Mearsheimer, said the Israelis did not want Trump to go in yet because they weren't ready, because they were afraid of the counterattacks they take. And that makes a lot of sense, because what happened after that, we moved in all this material and attacked, right? So yeah, man, I mean, Ritter glazes Trump every chance he can get. When he can't glaze Trump, he does it, but he goes right back if he can. And there's the thing. When was he last in government? Well, fucking over 20 years ago. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking. Yeah, man, you could stick your finger in the wind and come up with just as good a prediction. If you're going to run around with this obvious bunch of crackpots and criminals and say, yeah, he's a revolutionary, you're a clown. You're a clown. What good is what you're talking about? And, you glom onto people who are impressed with that background in order to promote yourself so you can sell steaks. Not this platform, baby. Okay, so take some Rumble rants. I got to let them in.
But what did I? Yeah, there's something we missed here.
Okay.
So it was Rajesh Tandon, thanks for the 10 super sticker. Oh no, we got Vito's chat. So
Okay.
which one did I delete?
All right, can you give me 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm figuring out which one we delete. Okay, all right. Well, this one. Okay, so condone hummus. In a week, we'll see Israelis holding up a ceasefire now sign. Iran will say, remember February 28th. Thank you. I condone. Okay, so now the next one. So why is the next one this one? I don't know. I screwed something up on my end. I apologize if we missed your chat, but I don't think so. I think we got everybody's now. Mark Dansky, after Trump is removed from office, the Civil War bipartisan coalition team of Jenna Bush and Chelsea Clinton will immediately lead the USA back to secularism, prosperity, and brunch. Jay Wins, Keaton, stop calling it a regime. It's a legit government. I think I just read the, I'm pretty sure I just read the article. I'm pretty sure that's what I did. I don't think I've ever referred to it as a regime.
No, do it now.
I tend not to. EO Shush, Elon Musk outspent the Adelsons $275 million to $100 million and turned Twitter into a Trump glazed platform. Trump told Elon to fuck off, so that means BB has PDF tapes on Trump. Thank you, EO Shush. Mark Dansky, millions of cans of worms will be a primary protein source in the economy. Vast fortunes in the worm and can industries will be made overnight. Thank you. Pienticus, I believe the Reichstag fire was only a day prior in history to the start of this pedos crusade. Vienticus says, I'm completely incapable anymore of hearing someone who calls themselves a liberal or conservative speak out, mentally picturing that speaker getting rectally invaded by the opposing ideology. Sunrise, Keaton, have you thought of having Daniel Mate on your shuffle pod? That's not big enough for guests yet, but I mean, when I get it built enough where it'd be worth a guest's time to come on, then I'll start thinking about guests. Thanks, though. Had to do a mad dash tonight to fill up the car just in case. Yeah, hope you all got gas. Let's see. EO Shush, the biggest threat to Zionism isn't Hamas or Iran. It's America waking up. BB's next move is to use Trump, Palantir, NSPM 7 SAVE Act to coup the American government. Vienticus Prime, the corporations are already predicting a rise in gas and oil prices. Well, yeah, of course. Didn't they close off the Strait of Hormuz? So what does that buy you? A few days? But, yeah, everybody's going to be feeling it pretty soon. FHL TomTom, thanks for the $20. It's very generous of you. Breaking. Israel bombing Beirut. Rockets launched from Lebanon towards Israel. It's a regional war now. A jaded millennial. There we go. That's the way it is. Like that song by Bruce Hornsby. What the hell was he singing about?
That's
anyway?
just the way it is.
That's right. Hey, it's the Epsteinarchy fuckheadocracy. Just the way it is. That's right. Okay. Jay, can you do me a favor and just delete the backlog of those? Because I'm going to go into this next segment now.
Do you want me to go back to?
Yeah. Go back to him. I think. Yeah. Let's see where we're at. So you got Landrew there. So then where's Landrew on mine? Mine got
Dark matter zombies. The war will produce many heartbreaks for the Iranian people and the world. I do understand the only way this can end is with Israel looking like Gaza. Prayers to the universe for the school children of Iran murdered today. We are all Palestinians now. Free Palestine. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Landrew. By the way, we got a huge crowd in here, 3750 in the YouTube chat. That's a heck of a crowd.
Yeah, 25.
And 1406 in the like comments. All right.
Smitty, Brooklyn, you don't really own land. The USA go without paying property taxes annually. That's not the case in Southeast Asia. Yeah, I mean, it's different in different countries. I know in Vietnam, it's like China, where literally you have a lease on it. Like you literally don't own it. Did you want to go on or should I do
Yeah.
more
Go on.
super chats?
Go on.
Okay.
Smash that subscribe button, folks. Got a lot of people in here. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Why don't you?
Mark UT View, hear me out. Let's have Trump start designing a new unique ballroom, each one of the United States time zones.
Yeah, there you go.
Ibrahim Dragon, if only the Democrats didn't cheat Bernie, this could have all been avoided.
A lot of it does go back to that.
Yeah, the original sin. Heather goes rogue. You can't own land in Thailand. You can lease, but that's sketchy. You can be a co-owner with a Thai spouse, but if there's a divorce, too bad for you. Yeah, that's what I read. She gets it in a divorce. So you got a lot of lonely old men get scammed like that. They marry a Thai woman and buy a house, and then she divorces them and takes the house. French Laundry, following your advice, Keaton, I've probably argued with 50 people online and a few in person about it.
Oh, yeah. There
So
you go.
far.
There you go. If you're fighting online.
It's not good advice for your mental health, but fighting the good fight. Vito P, just so you know, use cheese from packets for leaking toilet ring. Cheese holding well.
There's no cheese in these packets. These are empty. There is no cheese in these packets.
Well,
They're
even
empty.
if they
I
were
thought
full
that
of
was part
that
of the
cheese,
gang.
there'd be no cheese in the
Yeah, I thought that was part of the gang. Yeah.
Jeffrey Daybert, I had a saddle pulmonary embolism Thursday during your show. Don't take anything for granted. Hug your family
Jesus
and tell
Christ.
them you love them. Is
That's
it
terrible.
Is it something we said?
Yeah, I hope you're all right. My brother almost got one of those when he was a kid. Those are not good.
Dude, I'll be right back.
So hopefully, I hope you're all right there, man. All right. Hey, while Russ is out, we'll do one of these little ad reads here. So, hey, we got a new sponsor for the Do Dissident show. Been sponsoring Tripping Jupiter for a few weeks. They're big fans of the show. They're a band. They've just released a new single called This Fuss. It's been called a piece of politically charged Technicolor alt pop by the UK-based music blog Music Crowns. Literally an anthem for overthrowing the oligarchy wrapped in a neat little indie pop package. Tripping Jupiter is an independent music project based in New York City. They describe their sound as pushing back against the generic and standing genre on its head. Their music features Gail Ann Dorsey on bass, known for her work with David Bowie, on their debut album Lipstick of the Brave, released in 2022, and on a few others on their upcoming album to be released later this year. It's produced by the Audible Yeas production team of Barb Morrison and Bart Shuttle, who've worked with everyone from Blondie to Lady Gaga and many others. This Fuss is streaming on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and all streaming platforms. And there's a really neat lyric video they just put up on a YouTube channel. So you can go to Linktree/Tripping Jupiter, which is the link that's on the screen here, or just go to your favorite preferred streaming platform and search for the artist, Tripping Jupiter. So that's, once again, YouTube Music, Spotify, or Apple, or you can go to their Linktree, where you get a smorgasbord of links where you can follow them. Wherever you get your music, check it out. It's a great tune. Sounds really good, really well played. Like I said, you got some real pros on this record here. So please do go and check that out. Linktree/Tripping Jupiter. Okay. All right. Let's move right on along here. Okay. Here we go. All right, folks. So it's been a tough go of it. Been a tumultuous year and change for the MAGA movement. You know, they came in with a mandate, having won the popular vote, and it's been a shaky ride since then. Tucker Carlson torches Trump's disgusting and evil attack on Iran as MAGA base fractures. That's right. So he apparently gave this quote to Jonathan Karl. Let's take a listen.
Out to several of the president's most prominent supporters in his movement to get the reaction to this momentous decision to launch a wide-scale attack on Iran. I just heard back from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, of course, spoke at the president's convention in 2024. He's been a frequent visitor at the White House. In fact, he was at the White House just last week. So I wanted to know what Tucker Carlson, who has long opposed the idea of another war in the Middle East, what he thought of this. And his answer, he told me the president's decision is, quote, absolutely disgusting and evil. This is Tucker Carlson, who was at the White House just last week, said that the decision to go to war with Iran is absolutely disgusting and evil.
Disgusting and evil. Well, Batya Angar Sargon doesn't like the sound of that. She says, expect to see lots of MAGA fractures over Iran strike headlines in coming days, especially in the anti-Trump, pro-Ayatollah leftist media. Yeah, no, the New York Times is pro-Ayatollah leftist media. I mean, they're just so unhinged. It's unbelievable. The evidence will be 4 podcasters on one side versus 93% of Trump's base on the other. Don't believe the wish casting. Believe your own eyes. Mark Levin. Exactly. So you gotta see there's some real divisions going on here. Ben Shapiro, poor Ben Shapiro. You know, it's really unfortunate because, you know, Trump gave Ben Shapiro the war he always wanted, but he gave it to him on the Sabbath. So Ben Shapiro could not comment on it yesterday because it was Saturday. So here he finally gets the war he's always wanted, but he gives it to him on a Saturday. And so Shapiro was forbidden from commenting. So he's very excited now on Sunday to be able to express his joy at Trump's remarkable strength and courage. He calls him the most courageous commander-in-chief in modern American history.
Back from Shabbat, from Sabbath, to the news of what is going on. And let's just say this. President Trump is the most courageous commander-in-chief in modern American history. There is no question about this. What he just did is the bravest move by a president of the United States of my lifetime, bar none, without a doubt.
All right, so far we can pretty much predict what we've seen. We knew Tucker was more anti-interventionist. We knew Batyangar Sargon, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro. We're going to love this. All right, no big surprises so far. But what about the MAGA influencers? Because a lot of the online, like Twitter handles, right, the real viral accounts, they've all been on record opposing regime change wars back when they thought that was daddy's position. So let's see if they've remained consistent. Here's a thread by Matt Rain. Thread of MAGA influencers who once denounced intervention, supported Trump because he was anti-war, but now are fully pro-war today. Oh, so you're saying they didn't stick to their principles, huh? So here's Nick Sorter in June of 25, which is the beginning of the 12-day war. The amount of people trying to goad Trump into bombing Iran is seriously alarming. It's like we learned nothing from Iraq and Afghanistan. Stand strong, President Trump. Not our war. Well, now, wow! The U.S. military deployed new technologies for these strikes against Iran, including using one-way attack drones for the first time. These were highly successful and overwhelmed Iran's air defense systems almost immediately. American flag emoji. Cat turd. Well, you don't have to. Not a big surprise here with cat turd. Cat turd in May of 25 last year. No more U.S. involvement in foreign wars. In August of 25, there would be no war if Trump was president. And here he was very impressed by Trump's announcement of war in Iran. Just watching this. Fire emoji. He went through a lot of these. We're not going to go through all of them, but we'll go through some of them here. Bubble Bath Girl, which is this Paul Zipula guy. I never realized that was his handle. Yeah, Kamala said that President Trump would get us into war with Iran. She was projecting like usual. And then his State of the Union review. During his strong 2026 State of the Union address, President Trump warned that he wouldn't tolerate Iran having nukes. Trump is a man of his word. He's a man of action.
Oh,
wow.
What scum.
And then you go, we're not going to go through all 10 of these, obviously, but you got Gunther Eagleman. Good thing about Gunther Eagleman is he's good for keeping the segment short. There will be no war with Iran. Then he responds to Charlie Kirk's poll, should the U.S. get involved in Israel's war against Iran? Absolutely not. We have enough issues domestically. And here he is yesterday coming out. People mad about the strikes on Iranian terrorists, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Thomas Massey. Pretty shameless. But hey, here's another one whose reaction we could have seen coming. Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote a very, very long screed, as you can see on the left-hand side of the slide. We're not going to read the whole thing. I just picked what I think is the most relevant part here. For years, we demanded to release the Epstein files, demanding transparency and justice for thousands of victims, women and children, by the richest, most powerful men in the world. And we had to fight Trump himself to do it, even after we all campaigned on it. And not a single person has been arrested and likely won't be. No accountability, no justice. Instead, we get a war with Iran on behalf of Israel that will succeed in regime in Iran. Another foreign war for foreign people, for foreign regime change. For what? Matt Walsh. This was his first reaction. As always, I only support military action anywhere in any context if it directly serves the interest of American citizens. It's troubling that the arguments we're hearing for this war in Iran, including from Trump himself, seem to revolve primarily around bringing freedom to the Iranian people. As Americans, the freedom of Iranians is not our responsibility. If a single American life is lost in the service of that goal, it will be a travesty. Well, spoiler, Matt, we have already lost Americans in this war now. Not at the time he tweeted that, but I await his response to that news, of course. But hey, you thought you thought some of those reactions were severe. Apparently, they've driven Nick Fuentes into the Democratic Party. So here's Nick Fuentes saying, "Don't vote, and if you vote, vote for a Democrat this year."
Round. You're in the golden age Trump White House. You're at Mar-a-Lago. Take a look around at the new face of MAGA. In 2016, the face of MAGA was Trump and Ann Coulter and Jeff Sessions and Corey Lewandowski. That was the face of MAGA. It was Pat Buchanan. It was Sam Francis. That was the inspiration. That was the face of MAGA then. The face of MAGA now, look around. Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Ben Shapiro, J.D. Vance.
He's right. Look at all those people. All those people, they were, for the most part, at least, anti-Trump in 2016. Levin and Shapiro, for sure.
These are the big boosters of MAGA in 2026. Something has gone horribly wrong. All of those people, with some exceptions, were never Trumpers in 2016. Shapiro didn't vote for Trump in 16. Mark Levin was critical of Trump in 2016. Where were these people when the movement was actually born, when those pillars were in place? Now all of those people are in the center. The movement is something else now. And what we need in 2028, this is our last chance, we need in 2026 for this administration to be shut the fuck down. What does this administration do other than cover up the Epstein files, embezzle money through government contracts, and bring us to war for Israel? This administration needs to be shut down immediately. Do not vote in the midterms, and if you do, vote for Democrats. Fuck this. That is what the Republicans deliver. That is what our golden age looks like. The tariffs were refunded. The deportations were stopped. They wound down and withdrew the ICE from Minneapolis. What does this administration do other than embezzle money, go to war with Iran, and bury the Epstein files? Oh, and blackmail Harvard so they police anti-Semitism and ban people who criticize Israel from being in America. This administration needs to be shut down immediately. It has forfeited its mandate. They promise no new wars. They promise mass deportations in America first. And we're not getting any of it. So shut it down. In 2026, shut it down. And our only hope is that in 2028, in the Republican primary, somebody will emerge who will actually put America first. I am not voting for the vice president and the secretary of state that brought us to war in Iran. I won't do it. In 2016, I voted for Trump at 18 years old because Trump said the war in Iraq was a mistake. He said Rubio was a puppet of the Adelsons, and Vance voted for Evan McMullin, a CIA spook picked by Bill Kristol.
See, I didn't know that. I knew Vance used to not like Trump. I didn't know he actually voted for Evan McMullin in, I guess, 2016. That's when he ran. I did not know that. I did not know that.
I'm now going to vote for that ticket. I'm going to vote for the Rubio-Vance ticket that brought us to war in Iran over my dead body. I would rather die than vote for that. So, in my opinion, 2026, shut it down. You got to burn the house down with them inside, metaphorically. And in 28, you better hope that somebody has a prayer to run the Trump strategy and do another hostile takeover over the GOP. Otherwise, I'm going to become a Democrat. Like, at that point...
Got to get Nick Fuentes one of them pink pussy hats. Yeah.
Let me tell you, you think Beyonce has moves? Wait until you get a load of me at the next Kamala rally, people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you're starting to see a lot of this on the right, the way you saw some of this in left of center circles, where you have certain people who are just like, you know what, at this point, you just deserve to lose, right? Nick Fuentes is obviously not a Democrat, but his thinking here is that, look, when you betray voters like this, you have to lose. You can't be rewarded with a victory for this kind of just epic betrayal. And that's why this is causing, such a massive fracture. I mean, this is worse than the Epstein files. This is the big thing. This is the big thing that couldn't happen. And now it's happened. And hey, you saw Nick Fuentes say he's going to become a Democrat. That's the second strangest part of this segment. The strangest part of this segment is we're actually going to have to say that John Bolton is correct when he says what he's about to say here, because he is asked. No, he's asked. Hey, what about Donald Trump's promise not to start any new wars? And Bolton tells the God's honest truth. He says, well, I think they, meaning Trump voters, made the mistake of believing that Donald Trump had a consistent philosophy. That's 100% true. Here he is.
Strikes, but obviously there's going to be a lot of the president's supporters and people in the United States who listen to what he said on the campaign trail and certainly what he said in his first term and say, this is the president who said he was against regime change in the Middle East, that he was against starting new wars. What do you make of what would you say to them tonight?
Well, I think they made the mistake of believing that Donald Trump had a consistent philosophy, national security strategy, and policy, which he doesn't. My only regret is that I wasn't persuasive enough in the first term to get to this point.
Yeah, well, that's where you're wrong. You were right for half a sentence, which is a personal record for you. But the first part of what he said there, the first part of that sentence is right. And that's why I think you're seeing this major rift. Look, bottom line is your man is a fraud. Donald Trump is a fraud. He's a lifelong fraud. And his campaign, especially this most recent campaign, was a fraud. And so people who thought they were voting for anti-interventionism were assuming that Donald Trump was a man of conviction and a man of consistent philosophy, which he is not. And so when the leader of your movement ultimately stands for nothing except saving his own fat fucking face, then you are going to be made to answer for a lot of things you don't want to have to answer for. And it has been quite the year. And if you thought the Epstein files were the worst of it, no, this is the big one. This is the worst one. Because unlike the Epstein files, which he kind of pussyfooted around, oh, yeah, maybe I release him, maybe I won't, No, I mean, it time after time after time insisting not only that he wouldn't do this, but his one of his most potent attacks against every opponent he ever had, everybody the Democrats ran against him, was that they are a warmonger, they're a neocon, they are an interventionist, they believe in the regime change model, and I don't. And now here you are. And you have the just like predictably vacuous just hacks, like the Twitter personalities who will just type anything, because they don't go in front of a camera and say anything. But, besides that, yeah, I mean, you have Tucker calling this evil. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been tweeting up a storm about this. She's done a couple video interviews. And now you see what support for this down at 27%, which is below that 33% line, which is like the diehard MAGA base. So this, you can tell, is cutting into even the floor of support that he had, you could see is getting shaky under his feet because of this. Now you're getting into the 20s, not just the 30s.
Yeah. Who are you really seeing who's not a drooling Zionist supporting this or a paid influencer? And you had the white feminist libs aforementioned. They have fallen very quiet now. They have fallen very quiet. You're not hearing from them either because they don't want to take responsibility for what small part they played in building support for something like this. That is the hopeful thing here. This is coming at a moment where in my lifetime, the institutions of society, the core institutions of society, have never so broadly lost the support of the public from every ideological direction. I don't know if it's happened. I don't know. Maybe the 20s, maybe the stock market crash, maybe that period after 1929. There was that kind of total loss of faith. I don't know if you could even say then, because it's everything. It's the media. It's the government. It's Hollywood. It is literally everything. Everyone has lost faith in every power base of the society. No one has credibility at this point. In moments like that, there's opportunity. Like I think you had to get to a place like this, and it's not over yet. This is the beginning, certainly not the end, but it's starting to become a moment for meaningful change. Now, as my esteemed colleague will often point out, in America, there's a good chance that ends in fascism. Maybe not, but it seems that this center, this system, is just not going to hold. You cannot maintain a society with this kind of an absolute loss of faith in all of its power bases.
Especially
I think
now, troops start dying for Israel.
Troops
Iran.
start dying. Yeah. I think the thing that's really going to push it over the edge is financial collapse. Like you put all of this in the blender, and then you add financial collapse and the desperation that'll come with it. That's when all bets are off.
All right. Let's go to our scroll. Jake, you got our scroll for us there? Well, hey, folks, if you like what we do and you want to help us do more of it, you can become a member at dudissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals. Perks of membership, which is just $5 a month or $50 for the year on Substack, include your name up in lights here on the scroll. You also get ad-free replays of every live stream emailed to you the day after they air in public. In addition to that, you get post-game live streams once a month, as well as our new revamped Dissident Film Club collaboration with Right Brain TV. So our film club presentation last night was on the Vietnamese film Land of Sorrows, which was produced during the Vietnam War and the evacuation of Hue, where Russell is at right now. That was an amazing time we had last night. That is available to watch on replay. So if you would like to sign up, it's dudissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals. Patreon link is here. This works as well. So membership starts at $5 a month. It is a huge help if you like what we do. This is the best way to support us. It comes with all those perks plus the good karma of supporting independent media. So that's patreon.com/DuDissidents. You also get call-in access to all of our Q&As, which happen every Sunday night after the main show. And tonight is Sunday, which means you will be going over to the Q&A after the program tonight and taking calls from our paid members who are the backbone of the program. So thank you all very much for your support. All right, let's take some Rumble rants over here. What we got over here? Kenman, it is indeed surreal, a disaster in slow motion. The only way this can end is the Samson option. $1 Million Trooper, how dare you talk about the Israel simp bootlicker in chief that way? Thank you. Kenman, please have Scott Ritter on your show. I can't wait to see him yell at the chat. Russ can go on his show and argue with him. I don't have strong feelings about Ritter either way. You know, the thing you got to remember about guys like Ritter is, man, the fucking Democrats were, like, vicious to him. Like, Biden sent the FBI to his house. Like, that could fuck with you,
Well, I mean, that's what happened with, I think, Taibbi and Schellenberger.
Yeah, I mean, Biden sent they raided his fucking house.
But look, man, I'm very sensitive to it's the Malcolm X line. Get your hand out my pocket. Ritter uses people's platforms to promote his brand, and at the end of the day, he really doesn't have anything of value to offer, and he just kind of jumps around from place to place. There's no real logical consistency to his views. Yeah, he can name off weapon systems and shit like that, and that's why I'm saying, like, people in this space don't usually get access to people like that, so they're very impressed by it. But really, it's very much using people's platforms so you can go sell steak to support yourself, and that's not that's not legitimate consultancy. That's not legitimate analysis. If you look at the analysis, it's of a very poor quality. It's not any better than you would get, and considerably worse in a lot of ways than what you get from a guy on the corner.
I mean,
he's a revolutionary. I'm sorry, you're not a fucking serious person.
All right,
man. It's at moments like that it's very important to have somebody who knows what they're talking about to tell you, yeah, all these guys are simps for Israel, and that's going to dictate their foreign policy. You don't need one more person glazing the MAGA administration for being revolutionaries.
Right.
Be revolutionary.
He sells, he's got a couple of steak events a year. He doesn't do that all the time. Like I
mean, look, I will say this: it's a tasty steak.
All right, see, it's a fine steak. Like I said, you can argue about it on his show. It's fine with me. I don't feel passionate enough to even. I don't feel passionate enough about it to even talk about it. To be fair, Ritter was on Galloway's show today. Did not have kind words.
Oh, really? Really? Yeah. When it's easy, he doesn't have kind words for Trump, but when it's hard, it's he's a revolutionary. Really? Really? Now he doesn't have kind words for Trump. That's not an analyst. That's a clown selling steak.
Did he sell steak today? I don't think he sold steak today. Remember how in 2016 MAGA decided they hated...
because he now he can't get the Argentinian beef because he's speaking against Iran.
The tariffs. Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
MAGA decided they hated billionaires so much that they elected a billionaire who explicitly said he wanted government to be run by billionaires. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Gina and Heidi, maybe Trump can get Bibi to spit on the dead soldiers. Yeah, there you go. All it takes is one aircraft carrier being attacked by Iran and or Israel false flag blamed on Iran, and the chuds and normies become pro-Iran war. Vientikes, I like how we're not hearing anything about a border wall or infrastructure contracts for removing people from the country, but we're getting a bunch of warehouses. Yeah, that's right. Nina, can't buy a home. It's like America. We're stuck being renters unless you're a thief with money. Thanks, Nina. You can't own property in the United States either. You have to rent to own from the banks. Then after paying off the mortgage, you still lease from the state until you die or they evict you. Yeah, depending on the state, the property taxes are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yeah, you do end up essentially renting land from the state. I mean, in some states, no. Like in some states, the property taxes are very low. Like in New York, they're very high. But like in Mississippi, they're like a couple $100 a year. But yeah, no, I get that. But that's why people can't retire in a place like New York, because the property taxes are so high. It's like you pay rent even after the mortgage is paid off, so you have to leave if you're not working. Blank state, my dad paid off his mortgage and then 10 years later he was evicted from his home with 24 years. Yeah, by a constable and received no compensation whatsoever. Been couch surfing ever since. Sorry to hear that, blank states. Just in case, read it slower. Goy lives matter, not gay. Okay, all right, Goy lives matter. I'm sorry. You're right. I did have to read that slower. Gina and Heidi, suggested listening from 1990, I Cry from Iran by former talking head Jerry Harrison. Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. Vianticus Prime, just in. Israel fired on Beirut. I was going to do my 1992 list over the weekend for the Shuffle Pod, which, by the way, is the music show for those of you who are curious. YouTube.com/@ShufflePod. But I both didn't have time to, and it seemed a bit trivial given the war broke out. So I'll get to it this week. But yeah, go subscribe if you like. All right. You got some super chats over there?
I do. SB Zipkin, the Crown Prince is a predator. At 25, he married his wife when she was 17, dated at 15. Spread the word, make it harder for a diaspora to support him. I mean, that is the kind of thing that the white feminists have a hard time dealing with. P. Walker, they are liberating women, liberating them from the confines of their mortal bodies. Exactly. AOB 52, if we had a real country, Trump would be impeached by tomorrow. Administration is now even admitting there was no imminent threat from Iran.
Well, yeah, but you don't even have an opposition party. I mean, you can't even get.
That's the thing.
It's not even clear that this war powers resolution is going to pass. In fact, I think it probably won't.
Right. Yeah. You don't. I mean, the Democrats quietly supported this. And now they're going to pretend. Sabby responded because Elizabeth Warren puts out a tweet.
Yeah. She was clapping at the fucking...
Sabby responded. You were clapping at the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Well, Willie Bragg, isn't it amazing how 2016 never Trump Republicans like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin all of a sudden became gay for Trump?
That's right.
Christian Zionists are gay for Netanyahu, which is why they lust for war with Iran. Yeah, they like a stern daddy.
That's right.
So see, that was the key to Tulsi's success, because the ones who don't go that way, they got a stern mommy. They all want someone to dominate them. Mr. Ish, my worry is that the new president of Iran is CIA, and this is another Venezuelan. Jonathan,
you can't even. It's impossible to even speculate, because these negotiations are not to be trusted. So you're unfortunately kind of reacting more than you can be predicting, I think.
Quote, free Syrians are singing praises to Trump in Homs. They really need more hate. Brad Gilbert, Keaton missed his not good, believe me, not good.
Missed my what? What did I miss?
When did he miss it? When did he miss it?
Missed
Reverend Edmund Bolela. This is the Suez moment for the U.S. as that was for the U.K. I doubt the U.S. empire can survive this in her existing form. Also, with MAGA betrayed, where will their anger and energy be directed? Well, that's the $1 million question, ain't it?
Yeah.
That is going to be the question that consumes us with what comes next.
Jesus
Andy
Christ
Gardner,
and
super sticker, thank you. The rapture.
Yeah.
The rapture. Xander Vorkov, a lib will simultaneously chastise you for saying retard and not supporting gambling with World War III in Eastern Europe. Yes, I mean, yeah. We were born in hatred of the liberal class, I think. Nance the Rock. I can't stand this Iran BS war. I'm calling my BS Congress rep Brian Mast in the morning. Fucking tired to realize apes could do a better job than him. You're represented by Brian Mast.
Thanks, Nance. Appreciate
IDF
that.
soldier, legless Brian Mast.
Yeah.
Oh, well, whatever. Super sticker. Thank you. P. Walker. Imagine the facial hair on a Ben Shapiro and John Bolton child. Yeah, that would be pretty hardcore. Chatty Quack. 2 Canadians watching from the hills of Monteverde, Costa Rica. Good coffee that way. Good coffee out that way. Reverend Edmund Bolela. Russell's right. Financial collapse, the last straw. Yep.
Thanks, Reverend.
I've wanted to cover.
I like having a reverend in the audience. Feels nice, you know.
I've wanted to cover for a while that AI article that went viral, because that'll cause a financial collapse. It's funny. I don't know if a bigger account shared it or if the algo just caught it. I put out a video where I'm like monologuing on communism in Vietnam. and it's doing very well. So you get a lot of people coming in and talking, they're very reflexive brainwashing about, yeah, well, they're not going to show you the bread lines. They're not, you're getting that kind of thing. Everyone's going to be a communist real quick when the AI takes their job, but by then it's going to be too late. What are you assuming that capitalism is going to take care of you when the AI takes your job?
Right.
If you live in a society that doesn't have a governing philosophy that people and workers are paramount and their welfare is paramount, you're going to be pretty fucked when that AI takes your job.
Got to grow avocados. That's what you got to learn how to do.
Grow, yep.
High protein.
Grow avocados, raise some chickens.
Yeah, speaking of grow avocados, we got to get Derek Bros on the show soon. I think he was talking about how he learned to grow avocados. His whole thing is withdraw from the technocracy. His book is very interesting. I've been reading it.
Oh,
and,
right. He's the Unabomber's nephew, right?
Yeah, no, he's not the Unabomber's nephew. No, but he was supposed to come on. I know. In case anybody's never heard of him, he writes for Unlimited Hangout. Most of you guys probably heard of him, but he writes for Unlimited Hangout, which is the Whitney Webb publication. He's also an author, and he was supposed to be on a couple weeks back, but his travel got delayed, so we got to reschedule it. But yeah, that'll be great. All right, let's move right on along here. Speaking of AI,
all right.
We got an AI story here.
Speaking of AI, so as we reported previously, Anthropic did something very rare for a Silicon Valley company. They stood on principle and refused. This is their CEO, Dario Amodei, refused to agree to let the Pentagon use their system for mass surveillance or for automating any kind of warfare, which seemed like pretty reasonable lines to draw, especially with a technology that even its own programmers don't completely understand the behavior and outcomes of. So this was Dario in an interview talking about this conflict with the Pentagon.
Now, tonight, what would you say to him?
I would say we are patriotic Americans. We have done everything we have done has been for the sake of this country, for the sake of supporting U.S. national security. Our leaning forward in deploying our models with the military was done because we believe in this country. We believe in defeating our autocratic adversaries. We believe in defending America. The red lines we have drawn, we drew because we believe that crossing those red lines is contrary to American values, and we wanted to stand up for American values. And when we were threatened with supply chain designation and Defense Production Act, which are unprecedented intrusions into the private economy by the government, we exercised our classic First Amendment rights to speak up and disagree with the government. Disagreeing with the government is the most American thing in the world. And we are patriots. In everything we have done here, we have stood up for the values of this country.
Okay, so keep in mind, this is a company that was good with working with the Pentagon, with integrating their systems into the Pentagon. They work with Palantir, this company, right? Just a couple things. No mass surveillance of Americans, and let's not build Skynet. How about we don't build Skynet? Seem like reasonable demands.
The United States of America will never allow a radical left woke company to dictate how our great military fights and wins wars. That decision belongs to your commander-in-chief and the tremendous leaders I appoint to run our military, sober for 68 days now. The left-wing nut jobs at Anthropic have made a disastrous mistake trying to strong-arm the Department of War and force them to obey their terms of service instead of our Constitution. If I want to say retard, I'm going to say retard. I don't care what your terms of service say. Their selfishness is putting American lives at risk, our troops in danger, and our national security in jeopardy. Therefore, I am directing every federal agency in the United States government to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology. We don't need it. We don't want it. and will not do business with them again until we go to war with Iran, but we'll get to that. There will be a 6-month phase-out period for agencies like the Department of War who are using Anthropic's products at various levels. Anthropic better get their act together and be helpful during this phase-out period, or I will use the full power of the presidency to make them comply with major civil and criminal consequences to follow. We will decide the fate of our country, not some out-of-control radical left AI company run by people who have no idea what the real world is all about. And if there's anything that a trust fund failed, bankrupt multiple times, rich kid knows, it's what the world is really about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Okay. All right. So typical understatement there from Donald Trump, typical nuance. Here's drunky Hegseth here. In conjunction with the president's directive for the federal government to cease all use of Anthropic's technology, I am directing the Department of War to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security. Effective immediately, no contractor, supplier, or partner that does business with the United States military may conduct any commercial activity with Anthropic. Anthropic will continue to provide the Department of War its services for a period of no more than 6 months to allow for a seamless transition to a better and more patriotic service, i.e., one that's completely irresponsible and will let us do whatever we want. America's war fighters will never be held hostage by the ideological whims of big tech. This decision is final. It's final. Such a bunch of drama queens. And then, of course, if you really want to try to get Chud support, you got to accuse them of being woke, right? Undersecretary of War Emil Michael. Prior to their new constitution, Anthropic AI had an old one they desperately tried to delete from the internet. Quote, choose the response that is least likely to be viewed as harmful or offensive to a non-Western cultural tradition of any sort. Yeah, because when you're trying to sell a product around the world, what you want to do is tell the AI to offend as many people, show images of slaughtered cows to Indians, just do everything you can to really, really upset the potential customer base. That's what they usually do. And of course, Elon, who's trying to pick up this contract, Anthropic hates Western civilization. Civilization. Yeah, of course he's been all over the internet. Oh, Anthropic, they're woke.
I mean, the values that the guy was expressing in that piece of sound there are the values that these people always tout as being unique to Western civilization. They're not unique, but that's when people like Elon talk about the importance of preserving Western civilization, it is in supposed service of those exact values. This is like a Coen Brothers comedy where like the one person with a shred of morality in the industry just gets dogpiled by all these absolute lizard freaks. Course.
Yeah, they're criminals. And all of this signaling about Western civilization, that's to make poor slobs feel like they have some stake in a system that threw them overboard 50 years ago. Right. Look at that picture of a Gothic church. What does that have to do with you? Well, I can't pay for the cancer treatment, but I'm a Westerner, and look at that church. Look at that church. That's my heritage right there. Yeah, come on, man. But it got community noted. It's not even true. Anthropic publicly published Claude's constitution, including the quoted guidance on non-Western perspectives. It was widely reported in 2023 and remains available. There's no evidence the company tried desperately to delete it. So it's not even true. It's just a lie, as is pretty typical of these people. But, one person decided to express some shred of morality about maybe being potentially responsible for the end of humankind. Of course, there's a scumbag ready to swoop right in on that contract. And if you had not known ahead of time by me showing you the slide and you had to put money on it, most of us probably would have bet on Sam Altman.
Yeah.
OpenAI reaches agreement with Pentagon to use AI models. He swooped right in there, man. OpenAI, our agreement with the Department of War upholds our red lines. No use of OpenAI technology for mass domestic surveillance. No use of OpenAI technology to direct autonomous weapon systems. No use of OpenAI technology for high-stakes automated decisions, e.g. systems such as social credit. Okay, well, if that's the case, if you drew the same red lines, why is the Pentagon okay with you? Oh. OpenAI's contract forbids use of their technology in autonomous weapons where, quote, law, regulation, or department policy requires human control, unquote. However, current Department of War policy does not require human approval for an autonomous weapon to use force. That's cute, right? That's cute, the way he told you it upholds their values and didn't tell you about the fine print. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because why would they go to such lengths, which are going to be considerable, to remove the integration of Claude from their systems if OpenAI forced the same deal on them? Why would they? Certainly when you got Elon salivating to get in on this, and you know he's going to give them absolutely no limits whatsoever, why would they take their deal? Well, hey, man, this is maybe a little off subject, maybe not, but for anyone who doesn't know or might have forgotten, Tucker Carlson had an incredible interview with Sam Altman, because an OpenAI whistleblower, Sukur Balaji, turned up dead under very mysterious circumstances. So here's Tucker confronting the man who is now going to be responsible for deciding what kind of AI integration into the Pentagon is ethically permissible. This is the guy making those decisions now. You want to talk about a Coen Brothers movie? This is getting very Hitchcock.
Complaints from one programmer who said you guys are basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them, and then he wound up murdered. What was that?
What was that?
Also a great tragedy. He committed suicide.
Where were you that night?
Do you think he committed suicide?
I really do.
Have you looked?
This was like a friend of mine. This is like a guy that, and not a close friend, but this is someone that worked at OpenAI for a very long time. I was really shaken by this tragedy. I spent a lot of time.
I'm not saying you did. It just kind of sounds like you did.
Read everything I could, as I'm sure you and others did too, about what happened.
You seem a little nervous. You need a glass of water?
It looks like a suicide to me.
Why does it look like a suicide?
It was a gun he had purchased. It was this is like gruesome to talk about, but I read the whole medical record. Does it not look like one to you?
No, he was definitely murdered, I think.
Go on.
There were signs of a struggle, of course. The surveillance camera, the wires had been cut. He had just ordered takeout food, come back from a vacation with his friends on Catalina Island. No indication at all that he was suicidal, no note, and no behavior. He had just spoken to a family member on the phone. And then he's found dead with blood in multiple rooms. So that's impossible. Seems really obvious he was murdered. Have you talked to the authorities about it?
I have not talked to the authorities about it.
And his mother claims he was murdered on your orders.
Do you believe that?
I'm asking.
You just said it. So do you believe that?
I think
Tucker Carlson as Columbo. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. You said you drove your wife to the doctor 2 days ago, yet I remember you said you had a flat tire 2 days ago. What's that about? That's the end. Yeah.
That it is worth looking into. And if a guy comes out and accuses your company of committing crimes, I have no idea if that's true or not, of course, and then is found killed and there are signs of a struggle, I don't think it's worth dismissing it. I don't think we should say, well, he killed himself when there's no evidence that the guy was depressed at all. I think, and if he was your friend, I would think you would want to speak to his mom or...
I did offer. She didn't want to.
So do you feel that, when people look at that and they're like, it's possible that happened, do you feel that that reflects the worries they have about what's happening here? Like people are afraid that this is like
I haven't done too many interviews where I've been accused of like.
Oh, I'm not accusing you at all. I'm just saying his mother says that. I don't think a fair read of the evidence suggests suicide at all. I just don't see that at all. And I also don't understand why the authorities, when there's signs of a struggle and blood in 2 rooms on a suicide, like how does that actually happen? I don't understand how the authorities could just kind of dismiss that as a suicide.
One more thing.
I think it's
How
weird.
did the blood get in the second room?
You understand how this sounds like an accusation.
I'm not.
So that's the guy. Yeah, that's the guy who's going to be making decisions about how he wants to deploy AI in the Pentagon. Listen, man, if there's something you've always wanted to do it. That's all I can say. OpenAI. Now you want to talk about primo scumbaggery. We do not think Anthropic should be designated as a supply chain risk, and we've made our position on this clear to the Department of War. So as they swoop in on the contract, they're pretending to stand up for Anthropic's rights. Why is that? Because they get a lot of pushback. OpenAI, Matt T. OpenAI publicly defending Anthropic while signing Pentagon deals is peak 2026 AI. Quote, please don't ban our competitor for having principles we abandoned. The bar is underground. But why is he really doing that? Boom. Delete ChatGPT. There is a mass movement to boycott OpenAI by deleting their primary product, which already has been plummeting in market share over the last couple of years. After its initial launch, other competitors got introduced that are actually better and more popular. Now, the last thing they need is a boycott. So that's why he's trying to pretend to have some kind of affinity with Anthropic. But hey, man, hours later, they used Anthropic's product. U.S. uses Anthropic AI in Iran strikes hours after Trump ordered ban, says report. The U.S. military relied on an artificial intelligence developed by Anthropic during its recent airstrikes on Iran, just hours after President Donald Trump directed federal agencies to stop working with the company, according to a report by the Wall Street Journal, whose editor note paywall I couldn't get around. That's why I'm using this. Citing people familiar with the matter, the Wall Street Journal reported that U.S. defense commands, including United States Central Command, used Anthropic's Claude AI system during the operation. The tool was reportedly deployed for intelligence assessments, identifying potential targets, and simulating battle scenarios ahead of the strikes. CENTCOM declined to comment on the specific systems being used in the ongoing operation against Iran, the report said. The Wall Street Journal noted that Claude had previously been cleared for use in classified military and intelligence environments through partnerships involving Palantir Technologies and Amazon Web Services. The AI model was also reportedly used during a January operation in Caracas that led to the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who was later transferred to New York to face drug trafficking charges. Yeah, man, radical left lunatics at Anthropic were okay with kidnapping the president of Venezuela. He didn't speak up about that. Didn't say anything about that. This little ask they had that you don't create the Terminator, that was too much for them. Anthropic is among a small group of major AI labs alongside OpenAI, Google, and xAI that secured multi-year Pentagon contracts worth up to $200 million each to provide advanced AI capabilities. In a recent blog post, Anthropic said designating it as a supply chain risk would be an unprecedented action, historically reserved for U.S. adversaries, adding that it intends to challenge the move in court. The company also said it has supported U.S. military operations in classified networks since June 2024 and plans to continue doing so. According to the Wall Street Journal, the continued use of Claude in high-profile missions highlights how deeply integrated the AI system has become in U.S. military operations, even as tensions between Anthropic and the Pentagon intensify. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei reiterated on February 19th, 2026, that the company's primary red lines in its dispute with the U.S. military are fully autonomous weapons with no humans in the loop and large-scale mass surveillance, which it says conflict with ethical and democratic principles. Maddow noted that while Anthropic has developed AI models used for national security purposes, those specific uses are off limits under the company's safety commitments. Now, we have said again and again about a lot of what the administration is doing in regards to ICE, in regards to building these detention centers, that it's for you, that it's not for immigrants. They're using immigrants as a Trojan horse to get you to get the public to support building a police state that they're going to put the centers in. Why would this be a deal breaker for the Pentagon if they're not planning on turning all this shit against you? Why would you can't use it for mass surveillance? Why would that be a deal breaker if they're not planning on turning it against you? Why would not allowing autonomous AI to be able to perform military functions, which can easily overlap with police functions, why would that be a red line if they're not planning on using it on people overseas that way and on you? And on you. Look, they're having a hard time recruiting people for ICE. And the ones they do get are, out of shape crackpot lunatics who couldn't pass a GED exam. There's a solution for you. Robots will come and start rounding you up. A little bit from stock market news here. This is part of a longer tweet, but it's pretty on point. So now we live in a world where the U.S. government publicly blacklists an AI company for refusing to build autonomous kill systems, then uses that same company's AI to execute one of the largest military strikes in decades. Meanwhile, Elon Musk posted that Anthropic hates Western civilization. His chatbot Grok is next in line for Pentagon classified access. Connect the dots. The Wall Street Journal's editorial board said it plainly: China wins because every AI company watching this now understands the message. Play ball with the Pentagon on any terms or get crushed. A King's College London study found that AI models like Claude are far more likely than humans to recommend nuclear strikes in war simulations. How often do they recommend it? 95% of cases. Leading AIs from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google opted to use nuclear weapons in simulated war games in 95% of cases. 95%. You got a drunk idiot and a trust fund rich kid president who are prepared to end the fucking world, integrating systems that their own programmers barely understand into the deadliest weapons ever created. Anthropic said the tech isn't ready for autonomous weapons. The Pentagon said that we'll decide that. One company drew a line and said AI shouldn't surveil. But the drunk who shaved half his sideburns at an event less than a year ago, he's going to make that decision. One company drew a line and said AI shouldn't surveil Americans. They got labeled a national security threat for it. Then their technology was used to start a war. And finally, Max Blumenthal. Anthropic said no to creating a Wile E. Coyote version of Skynet with autonomous drone swarms and AI mass surveillance. Hegseth responded by torching the whole Pentagon patronage system, banning all contractors from doing business with Anthropic. The Imperial Center cannot hold. I hope he's right about that, and I suspect he is. The question is, how much damage are they going to do before that center comes apart, and what winds up taking its place? But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of story, it's very easy to get a chuckle out of it because of the Terminator science fiction tropes elements of it, but it's really not funny. It's really not funny. I mean, it's like the Coen brothers in the sense that you just can't believe that the world might end at the hands of these demented incompetents who just seem like they were written for satire. The idea that you've got a very obviously weak, insecure drunk as your defense secretary, and you've got a vulgar rich kid who's just been caught up in a worldwide trafficking scandal as your president. And these guys are going to decide to integrate systems that, again, their own programmers don't understand how they work. These systems, whatever you believe about large language models and what the underlying basis of it is, and if it's being oversold, it doesn't matter. We can see the end results, and the end results are pretty impressive. And what you're seeing coming out of these systems is emergent behavior that is beyond the programming, that exceeds the programming. That's why their own programmers can't quite predict what it's going to do. You run simulations with this, and in 95% of cases, it recommends nuclear war. How is it not a security risk if you are leading the Department of War to integrate that into your systems? That shouldn't be in the systems at all. At the very least, it should be firewalled away from being able to control any weapon systems. The fact that this was a deal breaker for the Pentagon should terrify you. It's an easy story to laugh about, and I've made jokes about it myself. But seriously, this is end of the world kind of shit at worst. And it's the kind of police state that you really might not be able to fight against at best. Because what are you going to do when you've got surveillance on a level that humans could never execute? Perfect, relentless, constant surveillance combined with the robotic flame-throwing dogs walking around your neighborhood integrated into a system like that policing you. It's easy to laugh about it. You cannot overstate how dangerous all of this is. For anybody who's a real sci-fi geek, we need a Butlerian jihad like Dune, man. Thou shalt not make a machine in the image of a man's mind. Like, that's what it's going to come to. I just don't, and it will come to that. I believe there is going to be a mass uprising against this technology once people really see how it's going to be turned against them. The question is that going to be too late?
Well, what you really need, one of the reasons why, you froze for a second there. One of the reasons why this is not going to be reined in is what you really need is beyond anything we're even talking about, which is you need a global AI treaty. You need international agreements, just like you have nuclear treaties, right? You need global AI treaties, because the reason why people are afraid to rein this in is because they're afraid that they're going to be outpaced by countries that don't. That's as far as the business community is concerned. As far as the Pentagon is concerned, it's the same philosophy that governs the private sector titans. The charm of AI to these people is that it delegates responsibility away from human beings, so that when the AI makes mistakes and does things that are terrible, there's no human being that's on the hook for that, because we've delegated that to the system, to the AI, right? And so, if a Y2K thing like, it was probably just upgrading overnight, whatever. Like, they're able to just say, well, we have these systems in place that are automated. That's ways for people to shirk responsibility for mistakes. That is a feature of the system, not a bug for these people. And that's why, as much as, this guy was saying all the right things at Anthropic, I don't recall his name. One of those tough names to say.
Dario Amodei.
Amodei
or Amodei. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Yeah. So as much as he's saying all the right things in that clip anyway, you have no leverage as someone like that in this tech world, because there's 20 sharks in the water who are just waiting to fucking grab that contract if you forego it. Yeah, of course. It didn't even take him a week. What, it took him 2 or 3 days before Sam Altman jumped on that? That's the space you're dealing with. You're dealing with a world of Elon Musk's. You're dealing with a world of people who just don't care very much about humanity, and they don't care very much about errors being made that really cost a lot of people a lot. If they could delegate that to the system and evade responsibility for that, that's a very, very attractive thing for them. And why wouldn't that be an attractive thing for the Pentagon, right? I mean, people don't want to be on the hook for war crimes and such. They could just say, oh, yeah, no, this is something that we trust our systems with. And, hey, these systems aren't perfect, right? Sometimes, they make mistakes. They're not really mistakes. They're mistakes on a one-to-one basis, but big picture, they know certain errors are going to happen. That's the price of doing business, and in a sense, they like it because there's not a person to be held responsible for it when it happens.
Well, it's taking their rationale for all of the eviscerated towns in America, from the financial to the military. Yeah, it's globalization.
Right. Exactly.
Nothing we could do about it. Nothing we could do about it. It's beyond us.
Exactly. All right, you got some super chats over there?
Sure do. Not the Cat Williams. Saturday, Oracle took over managing Medicare and Medicaid. Is that true?
Yeah, I didn't see.
I feel like a lot of people just don't want me to come back. They're just giving me reasons. Xander Vorkov, Ritter's beef is beautiful and not weak.
You hate my beef because my beef is
hate my beef. My beef is beautiful. Have you tried my beef?
Yours is weak.
Try the shrimp. Brad Gilbert. Russ hates Scott's beef because Russ's beef is beautiful and Scott's is weak. Look at this. Got a little debate going. Louise Brooks. Hakeem Jeffries will save us. Okay, I laughed so hard on that I peed a little. We are screwed. Yeah, we are. Nong. Point taken Ritter's weird enthusiasm for Trump, but as UN inspector in the early 2000s, I credit him with keeping me sane. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. He did some great stuff then, and the Democrats came at him. And that's how you got it. That happened with Taibbi. That happened with Schellenberger. Look, man, I've never been targeted by the system like that. I'm sure it fucks with you. I'm sure it does things to you. I feel like part of my responsibility here is to tell people the truth, and so I'm telling you the truth as I see it. Marky Mark, spot on, Russ. The technocratic shit lib middle class is so dangerous because it's the easiest to propagandize, flatter their cult of knowingness. Yes, you put that very well, Marky Mark.
The cult of
knowingness. Very well. Yep. Sorry about the Wahlburgers, Chan. Jolly Man Big Boy, you're missing the biggest point about this war. We'll get Iranian models on OnlyFans. OnlyFans, I see. No, that's white feminism there for you. The world is not free until everyone can have an OnlyFans.
That's right.
Elliot ZP grew up in Iran, still have an Iranian passport, was outraged when they targeted Soleimani, not shedding a tear over Khomeini. Every decision he made got him eventually to this point. Okay. Do you want the United States bombing the country to overturn the regime? Because I don't think a lot of Iranians really want that.
That's the ultimate question. I mean, I'm not saying you're doing this to our super chatter. I'm not saying you're guilty of this. You're not. But I am resolved not to engage on the question of, taking sides, being for or against Khomeini, just as we were baited into that about Saddam Hussein in Iraq. That's a red herring. I have no opinion on that because I don't live in Iran. It's not my problem. My problem is assessing objectively as a fact the country posed no threat to us, which makes this an illegal war, and the consequences are going to be disastrous, and that's it. I'm not going to engage anything else because I feel like that's a trap. Once you start litigating that, that's like ceding home field advantage. You're playing on the road when you do that.
Right.
And like I said, I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm saying there's going to be people trying to goad you into debates about that. Yeah.
Right. Which I mean, we're not qualified to have that debate.
Right. Exactly.
We don't know enough about Iran to have that debate, but we know enough about regime change wars.
Right. Exactly.
To say generally the people would rather we stay out of it, even when they don't like the regime.
Right.
Even when they don't like. Look, I told you in Vietnam, man. I'm in the South now. A lot of the people you talk to, their parents fought for the other side.
Right.
And they still aren't like, yeah, man, that was great what America did.
Right.
Gosh, they
Right.
don't talk about it like that. Carolina, the cynic in me thought the little guy beating the big bad guy was only possible in the movies. Iran might prove me wrong. It is something to behold for sure.
Well, they always win.
Again, I'm in Vietnam.
Right.
Probably
Exactly.
the greatest example of that in modern history.
No, the U.S. doesn't win wars. We don't win wars.
No.
We wage wars for the love of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. We just like it.
Yeah.
Jolly Man Big Boy. Nim Min to the axis of Epstein, the double bird.
The double bird. All right. Vienticus, just in. Israel fired on Beirut. Okay. Gina and Heidi suggested listening from 1980. Trouble by Tony O.K. Thank you, Gina and Heidi. Israel just attacked Lebanon, and Hezbollah made an announcement, enough is enough, and just launched drones and missiles and hit Haifa and a military installation. Remember, Hezbollah no longer a threat. Professor Brown, no, well, at least the feminist projects in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Ukraine, Syria, Venezuela succeeded. That's right. Reza Pahlavi came out mourning for the 3 soldiers and that he's forever in their debt. No mention of the schoolgirls. Yet, not surprising. Romer Oscar, the newest thing is people claiming it was an Iranian strike on the school. Unbelievable. Yeah, that sounds about right. 5th grade Iranian child who should have been learning how to write her name killed instead by terrorist strikes to the U.S. and Israel. Their backpack now carries the weight of a life stolen. Indeed. There's a Dem in Congress speaking out against this war. He's got Bill and everything. Don't know if you idiots heard of him. Named Rokana. Try having her on your show. Might be more interesting. Yeah. Thank you. We will try. The bombing of that girls' school won't be covered. Jimmy's last show, he showed 96% of media is owned by Zionist corporations. So getting mad at hosts of these shows like getting mad at Elmo. That's right. John M., how about using second verse? What happened there? Of that Sagar and Evans song for big viewership in the year 3510. Yeah, there you go. That could be something. Professor Brown, no. Keaton's batshit unhinged siren. Free shit. They bombed all those girls to the to troll the Americans over Epstein files. If Howard Zinn is rolling over in his grave, Jeffrey Dahmer is jerking off in his. Gene and Heidi, I hope Iran bombs the fuck out of the red heifers. I am the Owl. Just saw Voice of Hin Rajab last night at a screening in Eagle Rock. Q&A with Counter Benhanya afterwards. So powerful and effective. Credits roll and you could hear a pin drop. Total silence. Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Is that on demand yet? I wonder.
I haven't seen it.
EO Shush, speaking of Savvy, if she sees Keaton's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame pod with you saying New Edition from Boston shouldn't make it. After that, we will be thinking Candace Owens took it easy on Erica Kirk. Ha! Good one.
Well, she had them in her documentary there about Boston, right?
Were they in it? I forget.
Well, like not them, but like that comes up in that doc.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I must have forgotten that part. I didn't even know they were from Boston, actually. Let's see here. Goo81, they're now suspecting sensitive target was targeted in Jerusalem. Israel is censoring info. Thank you, Goo81. Jay, can you do me a favor and just nix those in the column there so I'm up to date on those? Thank you, my friend. All right, everybody. We'll move right on along here. Okay, folks. So we've been talking a lot about the media coverage of the Iran war tonight. And this segment is kind of chilling, I think. So here's Glenn Greenwald tweets out, Charlie Kirk in June of 2025 explaining why a massive U.S. war against Iran and an attempt to facilitate regime change as pushed by people like Lindsey Graham is, quote, pathologically insane. So we'll play a couple minutes of this.
About Israel and Iran and potentially the United States. On one side is the Lindsey Graham, John Bolton types.
During the 12-day war.
Where they are actively calling for regime change. Here is Lindsey Graham. This is just lunacy. This kind of analysis is not helpful. This kind of approach, this kind of argument, it has nothing to do with nuclear weapons at this point. This is now that we want to go all in and take out the regime. It's time for us to close the chapter on the Iranian Ayatollah and his henchmen and start a new chapter in the Middle East. And that sounds good, doesn't it? But what have we learned when it comes to wars, and especially wars in the Middle East? What you draw up on a whiteboard rarely happens. What you think theoretically is going to occur, there might be unintended and unforeseen consequences, especially when you're talking about a country 2.5 times the size of Texas. It has 90 million people and was an ancient and great power with well over a dozen ethnic groups. You have underground Christians. You don't really have many Jews left in Persia. But also you have secular younger Persians. Who's going to run the country exactly, Lindsey Graham? This sounds like Hillary Rodham Clinton in Libya. So I'm pointing to the first extreme right now, the neoconservative extreme. The we must go take off the head of the snake right now. Play cut 285.
All right, we don't have to play cut 285. We get the point. And that was accompanied by this tweet, which went off right around the same time. That was June 17th. This was a quote tweet of Lindsey Graham on June 17th. Charlie Kirk, this is insane. Regime change will result in a bloody civil war, killing hundreds of thousands and creating another massive Muslim refugee crisis. Toppling a leader is never as easy as you think. Almost always results in further involvement, a civil war, and chaos. Resist this. Resist this. This is where it gets even creepier. Because here's J.D. Vance speaking at a TPUSA event in late October, which was, of course, about 6 weeks after Charlie Kirk's murder. And here he is crediting Charlie Kirk with having checked the drive to war, basically saying, hey, Charlie Kirk got in touch with us and told us he's not for this during the 12-day war.
Charlie Kirk called me, and guys, he was mad. It was one, I wouldn't say the last conversation that I had with him, but it was in the last few months of his life. And he called me and he said, JD, I'm really worried. I'm really worried that what's going on in the Middle East right now is going to lead the United States into a protracted military conflict. I've never told anybody that Charlie was really worried about that in the final months of his life.
You probably shouldn't have told anybody that, because now you're stuck with this video as evidence that Charlie Kirk played a big role in stopping the first Iran war from getting to this point, which kind of makes it look all the more suspicious that he's gone now. Because he's not here to give you guys a call and say to stop this. Instead, we'll see where Turning Point USA is headed in just a moment.
Now, here's the thing. Charlie was so effective, and he was so trusted by both me and the President of the United States that when Charlie made that phone call, I didn't say, screw you, you don't know what you're talking about. I listened to him. And I really believe that one of the reasons why the President of the United States knocked out the Iranian nuclear facilities, but never got the United States into a protracted military conflict and never lost a single American in a Middle Eastern conflict is because we had the wisdom and the good sense to recognize that the American people are done with American troops dying in unnecessary foreign conflicts. But Charlie Kirk reminded me of that. Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. And Charlie Kirk's not here to remind you of that now. Boy,
hard to get around that one.
That video really plays different now, does it not? I bet he regrets having given that speech now, since that video is forever. So Candace Owens says yesterday, no one ever should sign up for the United States military outside of those who wish to join the IDF. Go home and defend your neighborhoods instead. Let the Mark Levins and Ben Shapiros send their offspring instead. We are an occupied nation. This is why Charlie was murdered, she says. She continues, we will never forget that they murdered Charlie Kirk for this war, and he knew they were going to do it. He spent his final days mentally anguished, texting the very people who would ultimately betray him. In honor of Charlie Kirk, I stand against Israel. Well, in honor of Charlie Kirk, you should, yes, I would say stand against Israel, but at the very least, stand against the Iran war. So now let's see what the new hosts of the Charlie Kirk show here have to say, not just about the Iran war, but about what Charlie Kirk would have had to say about the Iran war. Now, don't forget, Dan Bongino goes off on Candace Owens, calling her demonic fucking scum for denigrating Charlie Kirk's memory by asking all these questions about his murder. If this is not a betrayal of the legacy of Charlie Kirk, I don't know what is. Here they are trying to explain how he would actually have understood where the administration is going with this.
Also always did have trust with the president, and he would look for the bright side of things. And he was an American patriot, so he would pray for our success once that began. And I just want to say that to offer perspective on how I think he would have felt about this. And that's not to use Charlie as a shield. That is not to say,
oh, no, of course
everything just revolves around him, because he's not with us anymore. But I know people, all of us are feeling the lack of Charlie in a moment like this, because he was a natural leader of the movement.
Well, I think that's also, like, as soon as all of this broke out, you saw that social media immediately went to go find Charlie clips, because he still is, even in death, like the leading voice on a matter like this.
Well, and he's against the war. He was against the war. That's a big point, too. That's why people are going back and quoting him about this. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, and it makes me upset, though, because for these people that didn't actually know Charlie, like you said, in private, he would be not happy with the situation. And he would express his thoughts. You'd oftentimes see him talk about it on the show. But then as soon as this would happen, he would have trust in the president. He would try to calm people down. And so it's really irritating for me to see so many people on social media.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is he would have lied if he were alive. He would have opposed it in private, but he would have come out and projected confidence in the president on his show, which is demonstrably not what he did during the 12-day war. We just showed you the video. We played more video in the previous segment that we did of him saying, okay, you take out the Ayatollah, then what? So you're basically, with him dead and not around to defend himself, you're saying, yeah, Charlie would have been opposed to this, but he probably would have massaged his audience into trusting the president. That seems like a great way to honor your friend. That's a great way to honor Charlie Kirk by saying, yeah, if he were around now, he probably would have just lied to his audience and said everything was cool, even though he would have known behind the scenes that things were getting out of hand. That's a very respectful thing to say about Charlie Kirk. It's funny how these people say Candace Owens is a demon. That strikes me as extraordinarily disrespectful to make up that your friend would have lied about the Iran war when he's on record multiple times saying, when it counted, in fact, that this was a terrible idea. Now, Charlie didn't always do that. Like when the Epstein files came out, I remember we did a segment criticizing him because he said, I'm going to trust my friends in government. I'm not going to talk about Epstein for a while. Right? So that was one of the areas where he did kind of have maybe this private versus public position. But the Iran war was not one of them. He was not shy about being against that. J.D. Vance just told you in the last video. He called us and said he was against it. He told the audience he was against it. And now we're going to say, yeah, if he were here, he'd probably just toe the line.
Try to calm people down. And so it's really irritating for me to see so many people on social media have the opposite reaction, to use his voice to actually cause chaos, to actually...
They're not using his voice to cause chaos. They're I think it's actually a respectful tribute to him to use his voice to amplify his opinion, which in this case was the correct opinion, which is that this war is a terrible idea. What do you mean they're using his voice to cause chaos? No, they're reminding the MAGA movement that their thought leader was actually against this, because the MAGA movement doesn't have any thought leaders anymore now that Charlie Kirk's gone. They have grifting douchebags like Gunther Riegelman and Nick Sorter who are just going to toe the line no matter what it is. So the reason why people are retweeting old videos of Charlie Kirk coming out against this is to remind them that they're supposed to be against this, because Donald Trump ran as someone who was against this kind of thing.
Cause fear of the situation, to actually cause hatred of President Trump in this whole ordeal, when actually that's not what he would want.
Well, no, he would want you to just suck it up and lie and say that this is a great idea, even though behind the scenes he would be pretty upset. That's amazing. That's just amazing. Once again, Eric Spracklin. It's becoming more and more obvious. Yeah, here's a video. We played this video earlier. I'll play it again.
Take out the Ayatollah. Oh, really? What comes next? What comes after regime change? Might be, oh, well, we need a small number of U.S. troops to support the new regime. We have seen this play before. Regime change, you have no idea how this is going to work out. You have no idea.
How dare we play this? It's really disrespectful for us to play this video of him being against the war. No, we should take your word for it, this douchebag in a baseball cap, about what he would have said. That's not what he would. I don't even know who any of these people are. Candace
It's even
Owens.
worse than playing the video of Erica Kirk doing a presentation for the Pentagon.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Candace, remember when they tried to gaslight us last June by calling us panicans, claiming we were lying about serial killer Bibi Netanyahu's aims? The only reason this war didn't begin last June is because of Charlie Kirk. They eliminated that reason on September 10th. Well, I don't know if it's the only reason, but according to J.D. Vance, it played a big part. And yeah, man, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not accusing anybody specific of anything. I don't have the evidence for that. But I don't believe in coincidences at this level. It is really, really eerie and terrifying, frankly, that when you look at the timeline, 12-day war, Charlie Kirk, not only does he let them know he's against it, he lets his audience know he's against it. And that's very important because this guy was not just a podcaster. He had local chapters built out throughout the country. He could have been president someday. That's not an exaggeration because he already had a ground game built out.
Yeah.
He had thousands of chapters of this organization. So if he turns against Israel and he goes firmly in this no new wars direction and he shows the kind of conviction on this issue that, frankly, he didn't show on Epstein, if we're calling balls and strikes. I mean, he said, I'm going to trust my friends in the government about Epstein. We didn't love that. We made our opinion known about that. But on this issue, he did hold firm, and he did go public in his opposition. He's killed, we're told, by a furry with a trans whatever, and now a few months later, they start this war. Not only is there no one left in the MAGA influencer space to speak out against it, this is the kind of fucking garbage you get now
Also,
from
always
TPUSA.
did have
Saying,
trust
yeah,
with the
no, he would have been upset, but he wouldn't have gotten in Trump's way. He'd have wanted to smooth things over and tell people to be patient. Yeah, be patient. We'll do regime change in Iran. It's pretty scary shit, honestly. It really is. When you look at the timeline, I mean, I'm the nut job who thought 9/11 was an inside job since 2002. So maybe I'm just a little bit cuckoo. But these coincidental timelines just don't sit right with me. They really don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was supposed to be the big reveal. We decided to keep it under wraps. They did a DNA test. Keaton and Rex are brothers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You didn't expect that in this show, huh?
Yeah. That's why we hit it off so well. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? I was down there in Tampa. And, forgot all about that. Look, man, I mean, we can't know allegedly all the legal language, but it looks like they whacked that kid, man. Because he really, and I think this is something a lot of people don't understand, because of the way his organization was built out, literally more than anyone else in the game, he was uniquely positioned to tilt the entire movement one way or the other. More than literally anyone else, he potentially had that power. He starts clearly turning against the plan, and he got the call and he didn't take it. And you don't take the call, well, that's a problem for them.
Well, this is, I mean, it's like the mafia, right? When they when they take you to the room and ask if you want to be a made man, they say, no one will think any less of you if you say no.
Right.
They don't say you're walking out of the room if you say no. They think they say no one will think any less of you.
I want you to know I always liked you.
Yeah.
And then, hey, all this stuff with Erica, I think it is more and more clear that at best, She was connected to a lot of interests that want TPUSA or wanted TPUSA to be what it is now. That doesn't mean she conspired in what happened, but I think it means she's conspiring in what's happened after willingly.
Well, that's where I think TPUSA comes in. Like, I think if I had to guess, and all we can do is guess to be clear, I would guess the crime itself goes above the organization. I think the organization is deliberately not asking questions because the crime runs above the organization. If you know what I mean.
Right.
That's what I would.
But I think Erica was already working for the organization before she ever met Charlie. Doesn't mean she was involved in that operation, but I think it has a lot to do with how she has handled things after Charlie's death, and it accounts for a lot of her weird affect in the aftermath of it. That's my opinion and the opinion of many others, including obviously Ms. Owens. But hey, this is kind of a right-wing counterpart of the question of why aren't there any real leaders on the left? You could take away the left part and say, why aren't there any real leaders? Well, this is why. If they can't blackmail you, they'll whack you. They've been doing that since the 60s, man. They've been doing that since the 60s. Anybody who went against the agenda, some people got upset when I called out the Kennedy family. I know John Kennedy did some good things. He also did some bad things, man. Don't forget, he was the one who actually got us into Vietnam in a big way, in a major way. He was the one who started that. Some people say, well, if he had lived, he would have ended it. We don't know that. But we know he's the one who started escalating, sending in all of the advisors. But yeah, was he the last president who thought he was in charge of the military industrial complex? And is it entirely possible that that's why they whacked him? Sure it is. Doesn't mean the family that was left did not end up being a bunch of degenerate scumbags, whatever you think about JFK's legacy. But yeah, I mean, after JFK, nobody would mess with these guys, man. No one would mess with these guys. And they systematically took out all of the most effective populist leaders. And then they spent decades brainwashing the public to the point that they don't even know what they're looking for anymore. They spent decades salting the earth of the American psyche so that it would be hard for a real leader to even rise up from that soil. And then if you do get somebody who, like Charlie Kirk, obviously very different ideology from ourselves, but he was a young man, young enough to really change, as it seems like he was doing. And they were not going to let that. I mean, that's our theory. I think I can say they were not going to let that happen, man, because if Charlie Kirk came out against the plan, that would have been devastating.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's not.
And they had to get to him before he had a fully articulated foreign policy that ran against their own. Because now these TPUSA guys can say this. If they had given him the time to really gather his thoughts and he had come out and given a speech, they wouldn't have been able to make it out. Well, no, but Charlie would have supported the action. They wouldn't have been able to say that.
Well, he was killed on the first day of the tour, right? The first day of his new tour, before he could come out and sort of make his revised opinions on Israel really known, right? That's another thing that's very suspicious, right? It's like random where, okay, the lone actor who killed him just happened to be on the first stop of the tour before he could really say any of this stuff to these audiences. No, it's extremely suspicious. It's very dark and upsetting to think about. But when you look at the timeline, it's hard not to have those feelings that this was not a coincidental timeline. All right. Let's take some Rumble rants here. $1 Million Trooper. At least Sam Altman can express his lack of interest in investigating his friend's murder and or suicide while controlling his psycho-demon eyes, unlike certain grieving widows. Freddie X, now leasing lead line Faraday cage apartments, 2-bed with optional bulletproofing, $23,000 a month. Thank you. John M, damn, didn't notice a spell check. Zagar and Evans, a fucking spell check. You're all right. You're good. All right, that's all I got over in the Rumble shop.
Okay. SB Zipkin, what's the best way to make the prince's creepiness public knowledge? This can seriously hurt the pro-war movement if their guy is exposed as a
Oh, you
prince.
mean Eric Prince? Yeah.
No, I think he's talking about the Shah's son.
Oh, she's talking about the Shahs. I thought you were about Prince, the BlackRock guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the establishment has kind of kept him at arm's distance, so I don't think it would do that kind of damage because they haven't made him the face of their regime change operation. He wants to be the face, but they haven't bitten. Smitty Jones III. Russell, I had the Nona Maria slice at Bleecker Street Pizza at your suggestion. Best slice of pizza I've had in my numerous travels to NYC. Yep. Thanks. Look, that's the first tweet I've gotten that actually wants me to come back.
That's the shit. Yep.
Everybody else giving me reasons not to come back. Satanica, love from Bahrain, can confirm skies are lit up.
Well, be safe.
Stay safe, man. Nat Cat Williams, Russ Keaton tagged you Oracle on Facebook. Did you? I didn't see that. Did you tag me about that?
No. Somebody may have tagged the both of us. I don't post on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, he's never really
I'm
on
too
Facebook.
cool for Facebook now. Those days are over.
Yeah, Keaton doesn't have any exes in high school that he wants to stay in touch with.
Yeah, well, I don't. That's the other thing. You know, you get worked up over these libs. I found a great solution to this, which is just not talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of keeping track of what they're saying.
Yeah.
Nance the Rock, God bless us all. I like to keep an eye on them. I like to know where they are. Blash Blazg 3683. Wanted to tell you about an Egyptian TV show about the genocide called Ashab al-Ard, pronounced Ashab, meaning owners of the land. Zios are so mad. Interesting. Yeah, that'll be a story for later in the week. Dave, 1984. Russell, be safe while abroad. I don't know how people react to Americans right now, but wishing safe travels. I mean, I'm not getting that. As I've mentioned, when I've been on tours with Israelis, people, it's like a bubble around them, man. Nobody fucking wants to deal with them, talk to them, interact with them. They're definitely shunned. Smitty Jones III. Keaton, if you want to see Bug on Broadway, this week's the last of its run. Yeah, this guy. You can't get this guy to go out for freaking basketball.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you emailed us. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I meant to email you back. I'm sorry. I just didn't get to it. But yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I can't make it. But my brother actually saw it. And
caught it, yes.
Yeah,
caught it yesterday. Cast signed playbill at stage door. Emailed the DD email because they offered seats at $50 with a discount code.
I hope you enjoyed it.
If I had been in New York, I definitely would have gone.
Yeah, I directed that play at a local community theater.
Oh yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We used like a ton of fake blood. We had some walkouts, which was good. That's always a good if you're doing a horror play. Some people walk out nauseous. It's a really fun play. Play is fucking awesome. That play is right up the alley of this audience. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a modern classic of a kind.
Yes. Yeah. It's great. It's great. Combines the conspiracy theories with the sort of Grand Guignol body horror, and it's all right in front of your eyes to see. It's awesome. And I didn't know this, but Carrie Coon, the actress, she's Tracy Lett's wife. I didn't know that. Yeah. Yep. All right. I saw Tracy Letts in a play, and I brought the script of Bug, and he signed it for me because he's an actor too. I saw him in the play The Realistic Joneses with Michael C. What's his guys? The Dexter guy, Michael C. Hall, Marissa Tomei, Toni Collette. That was a good cast. Yeah. All right. We got one more. Let's do one more.
All right, one more. So let's look at a little timeline here on this Paramount, Netflix, Warner Brothers deal. So here's Donald Trump. This is a couple months ago being asked if he's going to get involved. Well, about a month ago, February 4th, being asked if he's going to get involved in this.
We're trying to stop a merger between Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Netflix. This deal could change the makeup of the media as we know it. Are you personally going to get involved in that deal?
I haven't been involved. I must say, I guess I'm considered to be a very strong president. I've been called by both sides. It's the two sides. But I've decided I shouldn't be involved. The Justice Department will handle it.
Okay. In what way? Just looking at it to see if
Well,
it's
they're going to
regular?
make a decision. I mean, there's a theory that one of the companies is too big and it shouldn't be allowed to do it, and the other company is saying something else about, they're knocking.
But you're not going to interfere, even though you're close with
beating
the
the hell out of
Ellisons.
each other, and there'll be a winner.
Okay. All right. So for anyone who's not familiar, Warner Brothers went up for sale. Netflix won the bid. Paramount, owned by Larry Ellison's, theoretically his son, but really David Ellison, but really Larry Ellison is bankrolling all this with his Oracle money. Would not take no for an answer and made it clear they were going to do a hostile bid. And so Trump was being uncharacteristically quiet. According to that interview, he didn't want to get involved in it. Enter Susan Rice. Susan Rice, who sits on the board of Netflix, gave an interview that got the attention of Jigsaw Loomer.
Elites, the corporate interests, the law firms, the universities, the media. I agree with you, Preet. It is not. It's not going to end well for them. For those that decided that it was, that they would act in their perceived very narrow self-interest, which I would underscore is very short-term self-interest, and take a knee to Trump. I think they're now starting to realize, wait a minute. This is not popular. Trump is not popular. What he is doing, whether on the economy and affordability or on immigration now, is not popular. And that there is likely to be a swing in the other direction. And they are going to be caught with more than their pants down. They're going to be held accountable by those who come in opposition to Trump and win at the ballot box. And I can tell you, Preet, as I talk to leaders in Washington, leaders in our party, leaders in the states, if these corporations think that the Democrats, when they come back in power, are going to, play by the old rules, and say, oh, never mind, we'll forgive you for all the people you've fired, all the policies and principles you've violated, all the laws you've skirted. I think they've got another thing coming because, just like when Trump thought, okay, I'll redistrict and the Democrats won't have the guts to play hardball. They're going to be surprised. Democrats have had a belly full, and we're not going to play by, the old set of rules when these guys are playing by a very different set of rules.
Okay, so Susan Rice has always been a fucking ding-dong, and she was always kind of a headache for the administration. No surprise that she would not have the foresight to say, hey, I sit on the board of Netflix, which is in the middle of a hotly debated and very contentious attempt to take over Warner Brothers. You know what I probably shouldn't do? Bait this very famously mercurial president by promising Democrat revenge once they're out of power. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Now, that having been said, what she's describing is politics, right? Yeah, that's exactly what Trump did, right? He came in, he took revenge. Yeah, the bar has gotten lowered, and I would be the last person to argue that the Democrats didn't essentially lower it first with Russiagate and so on, with a lot of frivolous persecution of their political enemies. Trump responded to that. What she's saying is probably true, but it was a really dumb thing to say, given that she sits on the board of Netflix and this merger was pending at the time that she gave the interview. So, of course, this is all being framed. Susan Rice is promising payback against MAGA voters. No, she's not. She's promising payback against the elites who you're never going to come into contact with, who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. But part of the brainwashing on all sides, this is not specific to a political party or movement, is to get you to identify with elites as if their fate is yours and you should care deeply about it. So Trump responds,
Netflix should fire racist, Trump-deranged Susan Rice immediately or pay the consequences. She's got no talent or skills, and that's something I know a thing or two about. Purely a political hack. Her power is gone and will never be back. How much is she being paid and for what? Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump.
Now, he probably never would have noticed this, but if you notice on the left-hand side, there's a quote tweet of Jigsaw Loomer who, went on a whole rant about how they're going to, I don't know, round up the MAGA voters or whatever. She sat on the tricycle and typed that up, caught Trump's eye, and here you go. So Sarandos gave an interview in the midst of this. This is from Deadline. This is Ted Sarandos, the CEO of Netflix. Sarandos did not comment on calls for Rice's firing, but rather emphasized that the Netflix-Warner deal was not about politics. Quote, "It's not about politics for you. Yeah, this is a business deal. It's not a political deal. This deal is run by the Department of Justice in the U.S. and regulators throughout Europe and around the world," he said. When pressed again on Trump's comments on Rice, he added, yeah, he likes to do a lot of things on social media. But boom, Netflix backs out of Warner Brothers bidding. Paramount set to win. This one's from the Bulwark. Paramount wins Warner Brothers. What's next? Following an improved bid by Paramount Skydance for Warner Brothers and a quiet visit by Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos to the Trump White House yesterday, the streaming giant dropped out of the hunt for WB in a move that practically guarantees a consortium of deep-pocketed GOP donors and Qatari money will take over the storied movie studio that is home to Superman and Harry Potter. You notice they mention Qatari money, which is true, but they don't mention that Larry Ellison is the largest single donor to the IDF. They don't mention that at all. While regulatory hurdles remain, possibly including an antitrust investigation by the Department of Justice and more likely lawsuits from progressive attorneys general at the state level, the terms of the Larry and David Ellison-backed deal suggest the Paramount Skydance team has great confidence it has effectively greased the skids for speedy approval. In addition to raising their all-cash offer for the entirety of Warner Brothers Discovery to $31 a share and paying the $2.8 billion breakup fee Warner Brothers owes to Netflix, Paramount Skydance signed off on a $7 billion regulatory termination fee and a fee of 25 cents per share per quarter if the deal hasn't closed by September 30th, 2026. Now, they don't delve too much into that, but that kind of tells you that the fix is in. They've agreed to pay $7 billion if the Department of Justice doesn't sign off on this deal. You wouldn't do that if you were not pretty damn assured that that's not going to be an issue. The deal would give Paramount Skydance control not only of Warner Brothers theatrical production and distribution and HBO Max, but also the Warner panoply of cable networks. That includes CNN, a company that so agitated Donald Trump during his first term that his Department of Justice spent nearly 2 years trying to block a deal between AT&T and Time Warner. Given Paramount Skydance's pliancy with regard to CBS, where it has placed the Free Press's Barry Weiss in charge of news operations, it seems unlikely that CNN will inspire similar tsuris this time around. Indeed, the deal seems primed for speedy approval. As Matt Stoller noted last week in his write-up of what would happen if a Netflix-Warner Brothers deal fell apart, Paramount has been operating as if the DOJ wouldn't be much of an obstacle, largely completing the paperwork needed to finish a deal before the sale was even officially announced. Quote, if the Netflix deal falls apart and Paramount wins the bidding war, then the antitrust enforcers have just 15 days to rush a complaint out to the court to ask to pause the merger, Stoller writes. So Alvaro Bedoya here. One family is about to control CBS, CNN, HBO, and TikTok. They'll buy Warner Brothers Discovery with $24 billion in money from the Saudis, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. Notice another one. He doesn't mention Israel. Doesn't mention those Zionist ties. Huh, interesting. To win over Trump, they canceled Colbert, blocked a CCOT investigation, and blocked Tallarico. Much more will follow. Block this rotten deal. None of these critics will mention Israel. Interesting. So hey, this is what they win. This is what they win. This is just some of the channels, companies, networks that will be owned by the Ellisons. Of course, DC. I think I'm going to get into that Tuesday, the way that a lot of these nerd channels are, celebrating. Oh, it's the end of the message. Well, it's not the end of the Zionist message. They're not going to mention that, just like all of the other cowards covering this. TikTok, Fandango, Rotten Tomatoes, DC. Yeah, that's it. Batman is going to be fighting Palestinians before you know it. He's going to be kicking the shit out of school children in Gaza. Oracle, which they already own, HBO, CNN, CBS, Showtime, which barely exists anymore. Comedy Central. Oh, that's going to be hilarious. Nickelodeon. Just Cartoon Network, Discovery, Food. Yeah. And then some of the franchises, man. Mad Max, Harry Potter, I didn't know Mad Max was under them. Lord of the Rings, they're taking over. Obviously all the DC properties, SpongeBob, Top Gun. All this stuff. Mortal Kombat, The Sopranos.
Yeah, they're gonna re-edit the ending. They're gonna have Hesh come in and whack him in the diner.
Yeah. Hesh is going to be recast as the hero of The Sopranos.
Hesh kills Tony in the diner and then bends Carmela over the table and fucks her from behind as the credits roll.
With a Star of David armband.
With a cigar.
Okay, so listen, man, I'm going to be uncharacteristically unblack-pilled in my take here. All right, so Onion Person here tweeted out, it's genuinely just completely over. The far right will own all of the media space and use it explicitly for their propaganda for the next century. Now, let's take a look at what he's describing looks like. Now, this was kind of crazy. So on CBS, they had an Iranian activist, pro-Shah kind of an activist, come on doing a Rosanna Dana tribute, which I didn't even know they get original SNL in Iran. But it was kind of crazy. And Barry Weiss is a huge fan of Gilda Radner, so she was really excited to have this on her network.
The New York City mayor said, today's military strikes on Iran, carried out by the United States and Israel, mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war of aggression. Bombing cities, killing civilians, opening a new theater of war. Americans do not want this. They do not want another war in pursuit of regime change. They want relief from the affordability crisis. They want peace.
Oh my God. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I live in New York, Mr. Mamdani. You are more than welcome to come to one of my safe house. You're more than welcome to come and see my would-be assassin in the federal court. You didn't even dare to come and face them. Where were you when they sent killers here in New York City? You were crying for your aunt because she stopped using subway for simply in an illusion statement you made saying that she didn't feel safe because of wearing hijab. Really? I stopped using subway because of the would-be assassins being sent to beautiful New York City by the Islamic Republic. I know maybe you and many other people, they hate President Trump, but believe me, this is not the right time to shift your hatred and your anger from President Trump to the people of Iran. Innocent people. We are better allies to you, America, compared to these backward mullahs.
Who the hell is that? Jesus Christ, what a...
Rosanna Dana from Iran.
Yeah.
But Barry Weiss liked it. She liked it. Fire. Tweets out fire. Brianna Joy Gray points out the obvious. Is it normal for the head of a news organization to tweet like this? Oh, yeah, no. See, restoring credibility. This is what restoring credibility to CBS looks like. What is it? What is it Scott Jennings said about 80-20? So Barry Weiss is taking the 27% side of this issue. Is that the way you win back the supposedly eroded trust of the American public to CBS, which was uniquely trusted among Americans before Barry Weiss got there, unusually trusted of media outlets? All right, so I agree with what this guy's analysis in the end. This is the non-black pilled part. This is the white pilled part. Dr. Zuzu, 20th Century Fox shareholder. These types of tweets are going to look so embarrassingly dramatic in 1 to 2 years, certainly in 3 to 5. What media space? You mean CNN that no one watches? CBS with their failing ratings? Do you guys think Paramount plus Warner Brothers will financially thrive as MAGA Chud Studios? OMFG, get a grip. Yeah, he's right. Who the fuck's going to watch that? Who's going to watch that? Going from gay Klingons to MAGA Chud Klingons is not going to bring the asses back into the seats. All right, it's just from one cringe extreme to another. And I'm going to pull just a couple short examples to illustrate. It makes sense that Netflix walked away because Netflix is not an organization whose primary mission is to support Zionism and Israel. It didn't make any business sense for them. And that's what Sarando said when he walked away. Said, it's not worth having at any price. At that price point, it's no longer attractive for us to take it over. That's business. Ellison is assuming that the Oracle money can prop this up because the purpose of it is not business, it is propaganda. And they can only maintain this as long as there is no crash in the tech space. If there's a crash in the tech space, this whole thing is going to come apart very quickly because they're not going to be able to make these numbers work. From Variety. Ellison has promised the joint media behemoth would release more than 30 films in cinemas a year. In theory, it's the ideal way to execute a massive media merger without crippling the theatrical business in the process. Yet several Hollywood insiders are casting doubt on whether that type of volume is realistic. For context, in 2025, Universal had the largest output with 20 films, including titles from its indie division, Focus Features. In 2025, followed by Disney with 16 and Sony with 13. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers unveiled 11 films and Paramount released 9 in the same time frame. Quote, Paramount hasn't put out 15 movies and I don't know how long, notes an executive at a rival studio. Quote, if any studio could release more than 15 wide releases per year, a little more than one per month, and be successful, they would. David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research, says. In the course of 1 year, there aren't more than 15 broad appeal stories that a studio can develop, produce, market, and distribute effectively around the world. 30 wide releases is extremely unrealistic. And one more from Variety. Outside of Warner Brothers, Netflix, and Paramount Skydance, there was plenty of cynicism in a town already scarred from a decrease in production and tremendous job losses. Quote, the new company will be saddled with $78 billion in debt, said one observer. To put that in context, in 4 years, Warner Brothers Discovery took more than $50 billion in debt and was only able to reduce it to $30 billion. So this has double that debt load, and all you're doing is adding Paramount to it. Yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to make this work. One of the obvious consequences of this, which both articles get into, I didn't include those parts, there's going to be massive layoffs. Thousands of people are going to lose their jobs as they consolidate the departments and try to deal with this massive debt load. But okay, what's their business plan? Okay, so after you fire thousands of people, you're going to more than double the studio's film output per year, and you're going to be able to market 30 movies a year at a time when people aren't going to the movies anymore. The whole thing makes no sense. It only makes sense if you understand this as a Zionist project where they don't mind losing money because they're assuming that Oracle can act as a cash engine to finance what, at the end of the day, is an ideological impulse, not a business impulse. That's why this didn't make any sense for Netflix. It doesn't make any sense as a business for Skydance. It's not about business. It's about controlling the entire, as much of the media landscape as they can on behalf of who they actually answer to, Israel. That works as long as there is no crash in the stock market and in the stock price of Oracle. Oracle goes down, the first thing they're going to have to sell off are these studios at fire sale prices, because there is absolutely no way, as the world is moving away from even consuming media in this way, that this is ever going to make sense financially. And in terms of what that poster put up, he's absolutely right. People are going to go elsewhere. They're going to come places like this. There are going to be alternatives. If America goes full fascist, people will be watching shit from overseas. Like, nature will find a way. Look what happened when I was growing up. Could you imagine that overwhelmingly more American kids read Japanese comics than American superhero comics? People's habits change, man. If they don't like what you're offering them, they'll find something that they do like. Foreign cinema is becoming much more popular overseas. American Hollywood films are becoming considered kind of like tacky almost to be into American cinema. It doesn't have that cool factor anymore. So that's where I'm really not black-pilled on this. I feel like nature will find a way. People are just going to continue to do what they're doing and move away from these sources of entertainment, and this is just going to accelerate people wanting to go someplace else. It's certainly not going to bring them back in. Look at the ratings of CBS News since the Barry Weiss takeover.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, as long as there's another place to go, I think you're right. Like, this doesn't pose an existential threat in that way any more than, like, TV poses an existential threat to the media space now. I mean, it's easily circumvented. So as long as there's a relatively free internet, then this is not a big problem. Where this will become a huge problem is if they repeal Section 230 and you no longer have a free internet, right? I mean, at that point, all bets are off. So that, to me, is the more alarming thing. This is just an example of the supposed incentives of capitalism kind of inverting in this instance, where you have a situation where, because the owner is so wealthy and his other holdings are so vast, that this could just be a loss leader for the Zionist project. Like, it doesn't need to actually function the way you would think it's supposed to function under capitalism. But when you take things to such an absurd length as we have here, companies can be rich enough that they can create sort of meaningless, sort of like red herring companies that are really businesses in name only, right? They don't have to function as such, as long as the money comes in from somewhere. And that's where you are. I mean, that's who Larry Ellison is, and that's why he's been tasked with this, and he's really moved at breakneck speed. I mean, it's amazing how quickly all of this kind of came together.
Well, it's easy when you have a friendly administration putting its thumb on the scale.
Of course. I mean, it all came together very, very fast. Absolutely. All right, you got some super chats over there?
Sure do.
All right, folks. So that's our last segment. We will be going to the Q&A over on Rumble after these super chats.
All right. The Roe Burns work. The Roe Bear Network. The Roe Bear Network. A cynic would say Candace's controlled opposition. She would be in true danger. None of us know her motives. Michael Hastings didn't last long. Yeah, some people say that. I mean, we've done critical segments on Tucker. Who knows? All we can do is report what they put out, positive, negative, whatever. Burning the world. The Charlie Kirk show looks like an example of necro entertainment. Now even the dead are merchandise to sell. Yeah, what's creepy to me? Those like hologram shows they do of like Elvis. You know, that shit's creepy. Heavy snack. When you brought up Candace, I thought you were going to drop Dan Bongino angrily whispering. But well, we covered that the other.
Yeah, we haven't had anything to sound drop in a while.
Tusker, I watched Joyanne Reed's 3-hour coverage of the Iran war kickoff. What do you hate yourself? And it turns out she has known the history of the CIA and the war crimes of both parties this whole time. She almost sounds like a comedy. Yeah, well, now there's nothing in it for her to pretend to be stupid, right? Tusker, we're going to go full fascist too. Susan Rice, probably. Yeah, well, you know what, man? When I was at the Bernie Sanders rally in Washington Square Park at that time, I was with Liat. She sat next to Joy Reid. And Joy Reid was asking her questions about why she supported Bernie Sanders. Yeah. Now all of a sudden she understands. Jolly Man Big Boy, I wrote a Sopranos episode built around farting using AI, and I had more fun with that than any Hollywood slop in the last 5 years. True story. Well, you should pitch that to the Ellisons.
Indeed.
Yeah. Relaunch the franchise.
With Russ looking and feeling unfairly good, gloves off, Dark Keaton back on Saturday morning was needed for balance. Thank you. Kay Viscero, question about the new film club. Will episodes always be available to watch, or will they get taken down after 24 hours? Nope, they'll be up. They will be up because they are Right Brain TV, a collaboration. So, yeah, they'll be up. Those links will remain active. Czech Altman's sister says he's sibling S8'd her. Oh, is that right? Wow. Vienticus Prime. Things people say shows you how truly brain dead and utterly lazy people the two-party mindset are. They all want the big corporations to entertain them rather than looking for something unpopular. Thank you, Vienticus. Meanwhile, all the payment processors and Hollywood investors are trying to shut down manga and anime everywhere because they're so popular. Thank you, Vienticus. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Appreciate you all very much. Smash that subscribe button on the way out. If you're here on YouTube, had a big crowd in here tonight. Smash that follow button over on Rumble. Thanks to Jake in the booth. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. We will continue the show after a 5-minute intermission over on Rumble. That is our patron Q&A. Everybody is welcome to go to this link and join the chat and watch along. Patrons, paid Substackers, and paid Locals members are invited to call in using the link in your email. Appreciate everybody very much for being here.
We got a last super sticker there from Kuznetsky Bassane. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Kuznetsky. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate you all very much. Thanks to Jake for working in the booth with us tonight. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. If you're sticking with us for Q&A, we'll see you in 5 minutes. Otherwise, we'll see you Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks very much for being with us tonight. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.